What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new scenario. Everyone wants me to make a what if about a character that isn't a Saiyan, and we have the perfect opportunity for this. For this year's April Fools, we're going to be covering one of the people that constantly trains. It's time for a Tien what if. Today we begin this year's April Fools scenario, what if Tien was the strongest? Our story begins a few years before the 22nd World Tournament. The Crane School takes on a new student, one with amazing potential. Master Tien could tell right away, this guy's different. Besides the fact that he has 3 eyes, and he has a little vampire friend, something else about him is different too. His power, his drive, his skill, everything about it. He quickly rises to the top. He's a star. The student's name is Tien, although he says some American people call him Tien Shinhan. Shen likes this guy. He has different localized names too, but he learns more about Tien's history. Apparently he's a descendant of the Triclops people, and after researching, he finds out these people are aliens. And I'm not even making this up either, Tien is part alien. Like, the Triclops people are stated to be aliens in a few sources, so technically he is actually a hybrid human. It's far more diluted than Gohan, for example, but still, he is a hybrid. And we're going to be using that in this scenario. Because he's a hybrid human, he has way more potential than a regular human. Even though it's very diluted, he could still realize that potential. And he grows a ton as a student of the Crane School. Eventually we get to the 22nd World Tournament. It becomes clear right away, he's one of the top performers here. And the final match is him versus a kid named Goku. And he thinks Goku doesn't stand a chance. Unless it turns out that he's actually an alien too, which Tien doubts. Although Goku is a pretty effective fighter, but Goku's met his match here. The two of them are pretty similar in strength, but Tien does have a greater power here. As Roshi watches, he wonders if this guy's the strongest person on Earth right now. He's definitely far stronger than him, and stronger than Goku too. But on top of that, he has some pretty unique abilities. Not just his 3 eyes, or his 4 arms, both of which he could use pretty effectively. Over his time training, he's learned his 3 eyes actually give him a pretty cool ability. He can see the weak points in other people that he fights. And surely he's the only alien with really good eyesight that could do that. It is his first challenge in a while, but he ends up beating Goku here. He's a better fighter, he's a stronger fighter, and he has this weird ability of his. It's a resounding victory for him. But Goku was a pretty interesting fighter, the first person to give him any sort of challenge in a while. Goku's a bit bummed he didn't get to win here, but it's fine. He'll win the next tournament, and he'll be stronger than Tien ever was. Following the tournament, Krillin is attacked by Tambourine, but thankfully, someone gets there just in the nick of time. Sensing this threat, and moving so fast that he's able to intervene, Tien gets there just in time, stopping Tambourine before he even kills Krillin. And Krillin's pretty surprised because Tien seemed like a pretty mean guy. Well, yeah, he's still kind of an ass. But he's not just going to let Krillin die, especially because after sensing this great power, he wanted to fight this guy. He didn't realize it was a guy sent here to assassinate people. He briefly fights Tambourine, but the fight ends really quickly. And Krillin's pretty shocked to see this because it looks like he's showing off more power than he did against Goku. Yeah, Tien was actually holding back a little bit. No, he's not operating on Beerus logic where he says he's fighting at 70%, but really it was like 0.00001%. But he actually was holding back a bit. He used less than half of his power against Goku. We're going under the assumption here that his potential is pretty much the same as what Gohan's would be as a hybrid. And because of that, he should be a lot stronger, especially with all the training he does, but we don't want him just one-shotting literally everything up until the end of the series. Even though it is an April Fool's what if, we're still going to make it enjoyable. He's glad that he helped out. He didn't want to let a fellow Baldy die. Piccolo could sense that Tambourine's been killed. How? Who's even that powerful that they're able to do that? It doesn't matter though. He'll get the Dragon Ball so quick that whoever he's up against, it won't matter. Once he regains his youth, he'll be unstoppable. King Piccolo's conquest begins, and now he's focused on Tien. This leads to Tien grouping up with the others. And of course, Krillin's actually alive here, which is pretty nice. Now, Krillin doesn't even know if he could do anything against this threat because of how powerful Tambourine was, but he does want to at least help out. Goku's up for the challenge too. It would be better if they at least had some time to train, but it looks like they're actually just going to have to mobilize and go up against someone right now. Eventually they do learn that it's King Piccolo, and they also find out he's going after the Dragon Balls. Good thing is, they have a Dragon Ball radar, so they could find the Dragon Balls too. They're just going to have to beat him to it and actually get some of the Dragon Balls so he can't get the full set. Although they have to prepare for actually fighting him at some point, and it seems like he's going after a bunch of other contestants. So they're not sure what to prioritize, going after the Dragon Balls first, or making sure that no one else dies in this conquest. At first, Piccolo does try to go after other contestants while still trying to get the Dragon Balls, but at the same time he realizes that it might be worth it to go after Tien because he's the biggest threat here. The fact that he killed Tambourine that quickly means he's pretty powerful, so he changes his objective. He sends the rest of his sons out to fight the others. Tracking down Tien Shinhan is their main target, which is good because it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. At the same time, they can find the Dragon Balls because that's exactly what that group's going for. At one point, they stumble across another Dragon Ball, just as Symbol and Drum show up. Goku and Krillin assume a battle stance, and Tien's watching from nearby. He wants to see if they can actually take these two on. Drum is weaker than normal because originally he was born when Piccolo got his youth, but here Piccolo is still old. He just birthed another son because he needed another son. Goku and Krillin do try to fight, but it's clear that they're not going to be able to win here. So Tien steps in before it gets too dangerous. Tien simply looks at the 2 sons of King Piccolo, and then shoots a couple of lasers from his eyes. These attacks are effective against all types, and he performs an additional super attack too, so it does even more damage, stacking his attack each time he does so. This damages them quite a bit from a distance, and then he goes in to fight them 2v1. Once more he actually does face a challenge, which is pretty fun for him, but from what he could tell these two are weaker than Tambourine, and he already injured them a bit. Looks like they need to get moving because King Piccolo's going to find them. Especially with this Dragon Ball in hand, and the fact that these two found that Dragon Ball in the first place, it means King Piccolo could probably find where they are. So Tien asks how King Piccolo was defeated in the past. Roshi describes the Mafuba, and he performs a few movements, not doing the actual technique, but just showing him the actual movements meant for it. Tien watches it once and says, I understand it now. There's no way he grasped it that quickly. Actually, he did. They'll just need to get a container, and then he'll be able to perform that technique and seal King Piccolo away. If he truly is that strong, that is. King Piccolo has most of the Dragon Balls, but of course, the group has beat him to the other ones. And now he knows the group is in possession of at least one of the Dragon Balls. So it looks like he has no choice but to fight them, even though he is a little bit concerned about Tien. Surely he can't be that strong. And it's weird. Something tells Tien that he shouldn't actually try to kill this guy. Maybe he should seal him because if he kills this guy, he just has a bad feeling that it might affect something else. Like maybe there's a guy that's lifelink to him out there somewhere or something else like that. Eventually the group does face off against King Piccolo as he attempts to complete the set of Dragon Balls and summon Shenron. But Tien's ready to fight. Like he said, he understands it now. He knows exactly what he needs to do here. He does briefly fight King Piccolo just to see how strong he is, and he is pretty powerful. He definitely would be a challenging opponent. But again, Tien feels like for some reason he shouldn't kill him. So as Tien fights him, he grows the 2 extra arms on his back, fighting him with his 2 main arms and performing the Mafuba with his back arms. The rest of the group watches on in awe. He's such a great fighter. And Goku's not surprised that he lost to him. This guy's definitely way ahead. Even though he was kind of a jerk before, maybe he could actually learn some things from this guy because now he's actually warming up to them. In the middle of the battle, Tien splits himself into 2 with multi-form. The clone of him puts Piccolo in a headlock, holding him in place briefly. The main Tien then jumps up in the air, flips around, and then his back arms perform the Mafuba upside down. Roshi's amazed because he got the technique exactly right, and he was so good at it in fact that he performed it upside down in the air. He copied it just by watching it once. He performs the Mafuba and King Piccolo sealed away. It's a shame Tien didn't get to fight him much longer. Normally he'd want to test out how strong he is as a warrior, but this guy was pretty dangerous, and at the same time, he had that weird itching sense that he couldn't kill him. And it's a good thing he didn't, because soon enough, Goku decides he needs to take his training more seriously. He's going to climb Korin's tower again, but this time, he'll go even further than that. There's apparently something far above it, and a place where he could train even more. So Goku gets all the way up to Kami's lookout, and by the time he gets there, Tien's already there. The great thing is he didn't need a power pole or anything because he could actually fly by this point. I promise, he seems really overpowered right here, but since we're going with the explanation that his hybrid potential makes him this strong, we kind of need to, but don't worry, he's not going to be just overpowered the entire scenario. He's going to be the strongest still, but he's not going to be one-shotting every single person. The thing about him flying, though, is that's not even making him overpowered. He could do that already, so that's not crazy. But he's going on the same journey as Goku, deciding to train under Kami, and Kami takes both of them as students. Turns out, Kami's actually lifelink to Piccolo. Had Tien killed Piccolo, then Kami would have died too, and they wouldn't have had anyone to train with up here. Well, maybe Mr. Popo, but not Kami. And Goku's pretty excited because, first of all, he gets to train under Kami, but also, he gets to fight Tien more. He did kind of want to train under him, which is weird because Tien had his own master, but it's about time he leaves the Crane School anyways. He's far outgrown it. Maybe Chaozu could benefit from that. And trust me, Chaozu is growing pretty strong. He hasn't really done anything in this part so far, but he's Tien's friend for a reason. So keep an eye on him. Over the next few years, they continue to train. Kami's surprised. Tien's already a really great fighter, and so is Goku. But Tien in particular is really strong. Like, already he's above Kami. He might be a good candidate for next Guardian, although that's just because of his power. Goku seems more suited for it because he's actually a good-natured person, and Tien is slowly starting to become a good person, but he can't really be Kami if he has some sort of evil in his heart still, so they'll have to work on that. Goku's growing pretty strong too, especially because he has such a great training partner up here. Now, they don't know what power levels are, and they don't judge power by that at this point, but just so you have an idea of how strong they are, right now Tien's power level is 400, at least in his normal state. When he performs his attacks, it goes much higher. Goku's in the 300 range, but Tien is making sure the gap stays wide, growing stronger every day. Next, we arrive at the 23rd World Tournament. So there's no Piccolo Jr. here, which means the final matchup is definitely going to be Goku versus Tien. A lot of the other matches go pretty normally, and of course there'd be 2 extra fighters here because Kami wouldn't need to enter and Piccolo Jr. wouldn't be taking up a spot. But whoever joins, which one of them would probably be Yajirobe, they're not really going to make it that far. Although one thing to note is that Tien would probably fight Tao, and Tao would try to cut him. And just to humor him, Tien lowers his power a bit, letting Tao cut him. He could use a cool scar, and he also realizes that'll make my job easier because I won't have to edit out the scar for him. Anyways, the final fight is Goku versus Tien. Of course, Tien still does have to hold back a bit, but the two of them enjoy themselves. This is the first time they've had a serious battle in a while. They have fought a bunch on Kami's lookout, but this is different. This is a rematch for them. A true rematch at the World Tournament. Tien, of course, ends up winning. Goku promises that one day he will win the World Tournament, and he will beat Tien. Tien is his new rival. His hybrid potential propels him forward, although there is another step he could take. At some point, Kami tries to offer Goku the position of Guardian, although he turns it down. So he goes to Tien next. That evil in his heart is mostly gone, and Kami will work with him to purify his heart completely. And he decides to accept the offer. You know what? That could be nice. Staying up here on the lookout in seclusion, training all the time with no distractions, and being able to use the time chamber if he so pleases. He accepts the position, telling Kami that these 3 eyes will watch over the earth. I forgot I put that in the script, but, I mean, it's kind of funny. I guess when I wrote it down, I thought that was funny. I mean, it's just stupid. I don't know. A few years pass. Over this time skip, Goku still does get married to Chi-Chi, and he has a kid too. Although it's been a while since everyone's seen each other, so there's a reunion set up at Kame House. Ten's invited too. The good thing is, he's the guardian of Earth, so he could just teleport there if he wants, but he decides it's better if he flies. Plus, he's still the guardian in training. Kami technically is the true guardian right now, so he's trying to limit himself a bit, and he prefers to take the harder route for things. Plus, this is kind of like taking the scenic route for him. He jumps off the lookout and flies towards Kame House. But as he's flying, he feels a strange power approaching. Something's falling out of the sky, and he flies over to where it is. It's a really strong power. On a random farm, Raditz lands in the space pod. A farmer finds him and shoots a bullet at him, but Raditz simply catches it and flicks it back. But before it hits him, someone else arrives and catches the bullet, saving the farmer. He'll live to see another day. It's Tien, wondering who this is and why he's here. Clearly he's not from Earth, and his power, it's pretty strong, and it feels evil too. Raditz clicks on a scouter and scans Ten's power level. Wow, it's even weaker than that farmer. It's only at 2 right now. But Raditz didn't see him come over here. He must have just been unfocused. Ten's of course suppressing his power right now, so Raditz isn't intimidated. He says he's looking for Kakarot, and Tien says he has no idea who that is. But then he sees that Raditz has a tail wrapped around his waist. And Raditz explains that Kakarot is his brother, sent here a while ago. And after his time on the lookout with Goku, he does remember the fact that Goku doesn't really remember where he came from. No, that can't be it. That's a long shot. There's no way Goku's an alien. Although Tien himself is an alien, so maybe it's not impossible. Raditz says he'll find this guy himself, and tells Tien to get out of his way. He then tries to throw a punch at Tien, but he catches it, with Raditz surprised that his power shot up. And quickly the two actually get into a battle. Using his eyesight to locate vital points, and knowing that Goku had the same flaw as well, he sees Raditz's tail as a weak spot. And he grabs onto it, which confirms this guy's tail is just like Goku's. He has the same reaction. Raditz tries to bargain to be let go, but Ten's not going to let him go. He needs more info. After basically capturing Raditz, while still holding onto his tail, Tien questions him, trying to figure out who he is and why he's truly here. And the more he talks to him, the more he realizes that he's actually talking about Goku. So, Goku's an alien? Wow, looks like there's more aliens here than he thought. Although, unlike him, Goku's not part alien, he's fully alien. Tien learns more about the Saiyans, but then Raditz is able to free himself. Unlike Goku, Tien wasn't going to free him anyways. The two of them begin fighting, and it becomes pretty clear to Raditz that this guy's even with him in terms of power. He didn't expect to face someone this strong on Earth, and he wonders how strong Kakarot is because if this guy's this powerful, imagine how much Kakarot grew. He might need to change his approach. Raditz's scouter then goes off and Tien senses something nearby. Goku flies in on Nimbus, sensing all this going down with Krillin alongside him. They weren't sure what was going on, but they felt Ten's power and another huge power next to him. Realizing a fight was going on, Goku didn't want to miss this, and Krillin reluctantly went along too, just to watch. This is the first time Ten's seen either of them in a while. Krillin actually has been training a lot over these past few years, and at some point he did go to Kami's lookout, but most of his time was spent at Kame House. As for Goku, he hasn't seen him because he's been raising a family. But the two are stronger than before, notably Krillin. Krillin realized that he'd have to put in more work if he wants to keep up. Tien and Goku were so far ahead of him, so he needed to improve in any way possible, and he definitely has seen a pretty nice improvement. And the moment Raditz sees Goku, he immediately recognizes him as Kakarot. So it's true then, he was talking about Goku this entire time. Of course, Goku doesn't even know what's going on, so Raditz briefly explains and tries to make the same pitch to him. Of course, Goku's not going to go along with that. He doesn't care if this guy's his brother. He's not going to go with him and take over some planets because he said so. As far as he's concerned, he's an Earthling. Raditz isn't going to take this answer, so he tries out something else instead. He doesn't have Gohan as a bargaining chip, and he knows that he'd probably lose this fight here because Tien is as strong as him, and now he has two allies. He gives Goku one more opportunity, and of course Goku's not going to accept it. Alright then. He notices Kakarot doesn't have his tail anymore, so this will be even better. Raditz then creates an orb of ki in his hand, throwing it up into the sky. It's an artificial moon. Quickly, he turns into a great ape, threatening to destroy everyone and everything. If Kakarot's not going to join them, he could die. So could his friends too. The three of them team up against Raditz as a great ape. This isn't too shocking because Krillin knew about Goku being able to transform, and Tien eventually learned about it from the others. This is basically the first time Goku realized that he was the one to kill Grandpa Gohan because he never knew about him transforming into a great ape before. He has no memory of ever doing that. But one thing they do know is that they can just go after his tail, and if they cut it off, he'll de-transform. They don't know they could just destroy the artificial moon. Although it will be tough because Raditz won't let them do that easily. Tien uses the multiform to split up, just as a distraction. Most of his power is in one body, and he creates 3 very weak clones of himself just to make sure Raditz can't keep up. And at the same time, he utilizes his teleportation. As a guardian in training, he could actually do this now. It's really nice being able to teleport everywhere on Earth, but besides it being convenient, it's also a good technique for battles, although this really only matters on Earth. As he uses this to trip Raditz up, Goku then goes for his eyes, trying to find some sort of weak spot to go for because he doesn't really know what else to attack. Maybe he can at least blind Raditz for a bit. And Krillin's the one tasked with going for the tail. He actually has a good idea of what he could do here. He worked on a technique recently that's perfect for this. The issue is Raditz still is moving too fast for them despite his size. And on top of that, he's keeping his tail guarded. Obviously he knows it's a weak spot, and he knows that they know it's a weak spot. One of Ten's clones tries to go after it, but isn't really able to do much. But at some point during the battle, Raditz's tail suddenly stands up. It gets a weird glow around it, and it's like someone's holding it in place. This gives Krillin the perfect opening, throwing Kien's on and cutting the tail clean off. and as Raditz transforms, he sees another person nearby. It's Chaozu. Using his telekinesis, he made the tail stick out. He's the weakest one here right now, but he has been training a little bit, and he was going to join the reunion along with Tien. Raditz fully transforms and then warns them of the other Saiyans. Even if he's defeated here, it won't matter. Nappa and Vegeta will show up and kill them all. They're far stronger than him. Plus, there's two of them. They wonder what to do with Raditz next. Everyone besides Goku has the idea to just immediately kill him, and Goku does consider sparing him, but at the last moment, Raditz tries to enact a sneak attack on Krillin. In the nick of time, Tien's able to jump in the way, and instinctively he deflects the attack back, adding some of his own power to it too. Raditz is basically killed by his own attack. Goku's a bit bummed that he was killed that quickly, but Tien did what he needed to do, and maybe he just didn't realize his own power. That was partially it, but also Tien's very serious about this and decides it was best to kill him. They all go to Kame House. They have to prepare for the Saiyans, but in the meantime they can at least enjoy this reunion. They still have another year. Goku of course hasn't seen them in a while, so he still wants to catch up with them. Chaozu is actually on the lookout training with Tien and Kami. He wasn't training the entire time, and he's not nearly as powerful or dedicated as Tien is, but still, a lot stronger. He's almost on Krillin's level actually, which is pretty good because Krillin's stronger too in this scenario. Tien also gets to meet Gohan too, which is pretty interesting now knowing what he knows about Goku. This also means that Gohan's an alien too, or at least half an alien, which means he's also a hybrid. And it makes Tien wonder, if Gohan's a hybrid Earthling too, maybe he has the same amount of potential. There's really only one way to find out though. Goku says he hasn't been able to train Gohan that much. Maybe now they have an excuse, but Chi-Chi will still need to be convinced, especially because Goku's actually alive this time, and Piccolo's not just taking Gohan without asking. But basically the same group starts training, and they all go to the lookout for this. Tien still learns some more things from Kami, but it's nice because he gets to spar with Goku and Krillin up here. Yamcha and Chaozu join too, and eventually Gohan does join because Goku's able to convince Chi-Chi. So for the next year, this group trains together, growing much stronger and preparing for the Saiyans. Not just that, they're growing more skilled. And Kami's really glad to see Tien's progress. He's becoming much better as a fighter, but also much better as a person. It's necessary for him to become Kami, and he still has a ways to go, but he expects that once this threat of the Saiyans is done with, Tien will be ready to fully take on the position. As for what Kami's gonna do, he's not really too sure, but he could enjoy a peaceful retirement up here on the lookout probably. Let's cover some power levels. After the year passes, Tien of course is still the strongest. We'll put him at 15k. Goku's close behind at 10k. There's still a gap in power because Tien is a hybrid and has better potential, but Goku has grown pretty strong, especially because he takes this training really seriously and he has good training partners. Krillin is pretty far behind Goku, but still really strong. He's at 3000, and Chaozu's pretty much at the same level as Krillin. Yamcha's a little bit behind, at about 2500, but is still impressive. Gohan's at about 2000 with a much better control in his power because of his training, and Yajirobe's pretty much the same where he was normally. Vegeta and Nappa finally arrive on Earth. And of course Goku's not going to be late this time because he wasn't on King Kai's planet. That is kind of a downside too, because he didn't learn the Spirit Bomb or Kaioken, but his training did go pretty well though. Even without the 10 times gravity benefiting him, he still was able to benefit from his training with great training partners, and he even spent a few weeks in the Room of Spirit and Time, which is actually a really effective training method because of how brutal it is in there. But the group's all ready. They're pretty surprised to see the crew they're up against. Kakarot's one thing, but the rest of them are just regular-looking Earthlings. Well, regular's kind of a stretch because Krillin and Chaozu look kind of funny, but then there's also Tien with 3 eyes, who obviously stands out. So, he's part Triclops. Looks like Kakarot's not the only alien on this planet. Nappa's not too concerned though. He starts off by planting the Cybermen, and all the Z-Fighters take them on. They're all defeated too. Yamcha, Krillin, Chaozu, and Gohan all defeat them. And no one actually dies this time. One of the Cybermen does try to jump on Yamcha and blow himself up, but Chaozu then paralyzes him with telekinesis, and Yamcha takes him off and kills him with the Wolf Fang Fist. So, they're pretty skilled, and they're strong enough to defeat Cybermen. Still not too impressive to Nappa, although it's weird he didn't get to see Kakarot fight, or that Triclops for that matter. He thinks that Kakarot's going to be the strongest here, but no, it's Tien. And he's the one who steps to fight Nappa. He really wants to fight Kakarot, but fine. He'll get rid of this loser and then move on to Kakarot. He starts off by trying to punch Tien, going for his arm and aiming to punch it off, but Tien just blocks it, completely negating the attack, not taking any damage at all. He chuckles about this too. This guy is pretty powerful. If he was a regular Earthling, well, he would have just lost his arm there. But he's no regular Earthling. Plus, he's got 2 extra arms just in case. But he's not even going to need them. He fights Nappa and he embarrasses him pretty quickly too. Nappa starts losing ground quickly, and then charges all of his ki and launches it at Tien. But with a simple shout, he negates this just like he negated Goku's Kamehameha. And then with one beam, he kills Nappa. He tells Vegeta that was a pretty nice warm-up. He's stronger than that guy at least, right? Vegeta's pretty surprised. Well, he still expects that Kakarot's the strongest one here because he's a Saiyan, but this guy defeated Nappa that easily. Plus, he read his power on the scouter, and it seemed to be 15,000, which doesn't make sense. Kakarot's power is really low, but clearly these Earthlings know how to hide their power, and that applies to Kakarot as well. So he doesn't know what Kakarot's full power is. Goku then butts in and says, yeah, he's pretty strong, but no, Tien's actually the strongest one here. Okay, well, that at least tells Vegeta that he could beat any of them here, at least individually. But everyone here is still fine. No one died. Thankfully, Goku does want to fight Vegeta alone at first, but Vegeta knows that if they were to team up, he would be outmatched in terms of power, at least collectively. But he fights Goku. And Goku is a pretty good fighter. Even though Vegeta's nearly twice as strong as him, he still puts up a good fight, and Vegeta enjoys it. But of course, Vegeta's not just here to enjoy a fight, he's here to kill everyone. So he starts taking it more seriously, and Goku starts to lose ground. And Tien taps in. Goku would have loved to fight alone, but he's going to need Tien's help here. And Tien might have even had some trouble against Vegeta alone too. At his full power with the Kikoho, he could actually kill Vegeta. But just with his regular base power, he's not going to be able to do that. And Goku definitely won't be able to either. Now the tides have turned. Vegeta's losing ground, so he decides to go with the obvious option here. Quickly, he creates an artificial moon in his hands and throws it up into the sky. But before it even makes it up to the sky, Tien launches 3 lasers from his eyes, shooting it down. They saw Raditz do that, and they're not letting it happen again. And this is bad for 2 reasons. First, Vegeta can't transform. But just as bad is the fact that he has to drain some of his power to actually make this, so he just weakened himself basically for no reason. Goku's surprised that Tien knew he could even do that, and Tien said it was just kind of a guess. He didn't know if that would actually work, but he's glad it did. And yeah, apparently this is the thing you could do, like this happened in one of the Sparkling Zero stories, so I'm going to use that here. So the fight continues without Vegeta transforming, but it's basically already too late for him. There's not really anything else he could do here. He's tried all he can. Plus, he's weaker now, and he's still fighting 2 people that collectively outmatch him. Actually, at this point, with the power that's drained from him, Tien can take him on alone. He doesn't even need the boost from the Kikoho, he could just use the regular power. Vegeta gets more and more worn out, and then jumps up in the air, charging a Gallic Gun and launching it right down at Earth. Goku then counters with his Kamehameha, and Tien joins in too, performing the same thing. He's pretty surprised to see him doing that technique. But after all, it is really easy for him to replicate and counter, so he might as well match Goku here. Their blast overpower Vegeta, hitting him directly and knocking him out of the sky. He falls to the ground, defeated and badly injured. Tien's ready to kill him, just like he did with Nappa and just like he did with Raditz. But Goku says not to. Vegeta was fun to fight and he'd love to fight him again. Plus, he kinda didn't really have a say with Raditz. It was done pretty quickly, and even though Tien didn't really have a choice there, Tien kind of owes him to keep this guy alive. He even jokes about Tien. He killed his brother. They think he's serious, but Goku doesn't actually care at all. He's just making a joke. And this surprises Vegeta too. That guy was the one who killed Raditz? To think that someone's that powerful. This planet seems so weak. Well, it's not the strongest person he's ever seen. There are a bunch of people in the Frieza Force that are stronger, including Frieza himself. But still, he underestimated this planet, as much as he hates to admit it, although he doesn't say this out loud. So Vegeta's spared. He says this won't be the last they see of him. He crawls away, getting into his ship and leaving. No one ended up dying, besides Nappa, but everyone here is fine. Plus, another upside is that Vegeta doesn't know about the Dragon Balls, so by extension, Frieza won't either. They were never mentioned to Raditz, nor Nappa or Vegeta for that matter, so that was never picked up by the Scouters and no one has that info. So besides no one dying being a good thing in general, it also means no one finds out about the Dragon Balls. There's no need to bring them up in conversation. With Vegeta still being alive, this is going to serve as great motivation for everyone to train. Of course, Tien's going to keep training regardless, but still, Vegeta was stronger than him. He wishes he got to fight and defeat Vegeta alone. So does Goku, obviously. So maybe Goku was right in sparing him. This will just push everybody further and further. But what now for Vegeta? Since he doesn't know about the Dragon Balls, he's not going to go to Namek for that, so he just returns to the Frieza Force. At some point he's going to have to answer for what happened because Raditz disappeared out of nowhere, and then a year later, Vegeta went to the same planet with Nappa, and Nappa never came back. And Vegeta came back pretty badly beaten. So Frieza asked him directly, basically interrogating him. Vegeta says they were looking to take over this planet, and he doesn't mention anything about Kakarot. Although Frieza does bring it up because it came up in the recordings from Raditz. Vegeta said he did want to bring Kakarot back, but they had to kill him in the process. Vegeta's not sure why he's covering for Kakarot here, but he'd rather protect fellow Saiyan, and if anyone's going to kill him, it's going to be Vegeta. The good thing is Frieza buys this. So they initially went there to retrieve a Saiyan, but they had to kill him. And that story checks out. From what he knows about Saiyans, if Kakarot were actually still alive, then there would only be 3 outcomes. Vegeta kills Kakarot, Vegeta comes back with Kakarot, or Kakarot kills Vegeta. He doesn't know Kakarot's actually a good Saiyan, so there would be no reason for him to fight Vegeta and stay on Earth if he were actually alive. So he's not concerned about any of that just yet, but it's good to know. Maybe he'll have to do some research about Earth. The population seems pretty powerful, so maybe the planet's valuable, but he'll put that on the back burner. Out of curiosity, Frieza decides to look into Earth, thinking it might be valuable. He also tries to put some of the pieces together. So he knows why Vegeta was there in the first place, but he's not really too sure what's going on with that planet because why are there 2 aliens on that planet? There was a Saiyan, and from the recording he learns that there was also a Triclops there for some reason. Interesting. How did he end up on Earth, and why did the Saiyan end up on Earth too? And is this Triclops a full Triclops or a descendant? Guess we have to make up some Triclops lore too. So in case it wasn't clear, whenever I bring up Triclops lore here, this is not actual canon stuff, but for now we have some basic things to work with. From what Frieza knows about them, they're a race of warriors with weird abilities, and they're mostly extinct, at least seemingly until now. It looks like all of his foes there are dead. The strong warriors he fought are completely wiped out, which also means Frieza should have an easy time taking over the planet. If it really is that valuable, then it would be a great target to go after, especially with no one fighting for it. There's at least 2 aliens there that he knows of, or there were 2 aliens there. He thinks they're dead. So there's something about this planet that draws people to it. It might be worth looking into even further. Not to mention, if a Saiyan was there, who knows if there's any other Saiyans there too, and maybe descendants of that Saiyan, which would be a really big problem. Of course, Vegeta would probably find out, but at the same time, Vegeta probably wouldn't tell Frieza about that if that were the case. It would be better to do his own research. Speaking of Vegeta, where is he? Well, he's decided to come up with an escape plan. He knows Frieza's probably going to come after him soon enough and put the pieces together, so he decides he's deserting the Frieza Force for good. In terms of where he's going, he really has no clue, and he doesn't know what he's going to do next either. All he knows is that he needs to grow a lot stronger, and he's eventually going to go back to Earth to try and fight them again. But for now, he basically just has to freestyle it and figure out what's next. As long as he's away from Frieza, that'll be good. It's a shame he doesn't know about the Dragon Balls either, because if he did, he can go right for them. But at the same time, him not knowing about the Dragon Balls is great. That means no one's going to be going to Namek. We'll see a bit more of Vegeta later on. Frieza decides to send some soldiers out to Earth to scope it out. A small batch of them shows up at first. They land in the middle of a wasteland, where their scouters detected a pretty high power. It's low in comparison to them, but still, it's in the triple digits. When they get there, they see someone who looks like a kid. Actually, it's a grown man, and for some reason he's just really small. It's Chaozu. He was training there alone. Normally his power would be a lot lower because it's suppressed, but they caught him in the middle of training. This isn't his full power though, not even close to it. So they assume his power level is around 500. Way higher than everyone else they detect on Earth, but also nothing in comparison to them. And Frieza gets this all relayed to him. They have video this time as well. Alright, Chaozu looks really, well, unique. He doesn't look like other Earthlings. Granted, Frieza doesn't know how truly crazy Earthlings can look here, but that's not the point right now. Is this another alien he's seeing? Chaozu immediately recognizes that these soldiers are threats to him, so he assumes a fighting stance, asking who they are and why they're here. The soldiers don't take him seriously at all, and nor does Frieza. Over the scouter, he orders them to just take him hostage. Maybe they can get some info out of him. So they get closer to Chaozu, and then instantly, he defeats all of them. It happens so quickly that they don't even realize it happened until it's over. They're all knocked to the ground, and for a brief moment, Frieza sees the scouter flare up. The power level shot up to 50,000, and that's not even his full power. Since Vegeta came to Earth, about half a year has passed. Of course, everyone has grown a lot stronger in the meantime, and Chaozu's no exception. They figured out better training methods, and Kami even sent Tien to train with King Kai. So there's been a lot of developments that Frieza doesn't know about. Telekinetically, Chaozu picks up the scouter, staring right into it. It actually kind of freaks Frieza out a bit, but he talks to the scouter. It looks like he's going to have to actually visit this planet. Chaozu asks who he is, and Frieza introduces himself as Lord Frieza, the next ruler of this planet. He does realize what he did as a declaration of war, right? Chaozu had no clue who those guys are, and that was just self-defense for him. But if he's trying to declare war on Earth, Chaozu knows exactly who he needs to talk to. He flies up to the lookout, and Tien's there. The whole time, Frieza's threatening Chaozu over the scouter, but he's not intimidated. He just tells Tien to handle it. So Tien picks up the scouter and starts talking to Frieza through it, introducing himself as the Guardian of Earth. And Frieza immediately recognizes that this is one of the guys Vegeta fought. He didn't get to see video from Vegeta's fight, but he just heard some things. And one of the big things is the fact that he heard about a Triclops being there. So Frieza asks, is he the same Triclops that actually fought Vegeta? Well, yeah, there's not any other Triclops on Earth that he knows of. Interesting. So Vegeta did lie to him, just like he thought. But this guy's also the Guardian of Earth, whatever that is. And if that other Earthling was that powerful, maybe this guy's pretty strong too. Frieza says they could be cordial about this, or he could take the planet by force. What's it gonna be? They declared war and attacked his soldiers directly. Tien's kinda tired of this nonsense. Is this guy with Vegeta too? Because if they want to take over planets and have Tien join him, he's not up for that and they're not gonna make him do it. And Frieza says, yeah, in a way he was with Vegeta. Vegeta was actually his subordinate. Not for much longer though, he's gonna have to kill Vegeta. Out of curiosity, he asks if there's a Saiyan named Kakarot there too. Once more, Tien's kinda just tired of this crap. He's talking about Goku. Goku's not gonna come along with them. They're not gonna be able to convince him. And he directly threatens Frieza too. If he comes here, they'll just beat him up like they did to Vegeta. He then crushes the scouter and lets it go. Frieza's furious. They're clearly not taking him seriously. He's a little busy himself right now, but he could send some other soldiers his way, specifically the Ginyu Force. So that's exactly what he does. A few weeks later, a new group shows up on Earth. The Ginyu Force arrives. Normally, Tien would be going between Kami's lookout and King Kai's planet, but he stayed here up on the lookout just because he knew Frieza would probably try and do something. And before the ships even get close to Earth, Tien could see them out in space and sense the Ginyu Force as well. Telepathically, he communicates with everyone he knows, letting them know a new fight's about to break out. He's with Chaozu right now, so they go down to the surface, ready to fight the Ginyu Force. The Ginyu Force is about to land in a city, but Chaozu then redirects their ships with his telekinesis, once more sending them to a wasteland far away from the city so no one gets killed. This kind of takes the Ginyu Force by surprise, but whatever, they'll work with it. They step off the ship, strike a pose, and then check their scouters. Well, this is pretty easy. The Guardian of Earth that they're supposed to go after, he's right here. And after checking his scouter, Ginyu can see that he's actually really strong. Stronger than him, in fact. Right now, Tien is still a little bit suppressed, but he's not fully suppressing his power. So Ginyu could read his powers at 200,000 at the moment. And from what Frieza told him, these people can suppress their power and change it at will. So he has a really good idea here. because at the moment, it seems like Tien could just defeat them all. So why not take that body for himself? Jace and Berto get ready to fight Tien, but really they kind of act as a distraction, because as they go for him, Ginyu then tries to use a body swap on Tien. At the very last moment, Chaozu's able to catch it, and Tien's preoccupied fighting those two so he can't really dodge it. Chaozu's not really sure what else to do. So he tries using telekinesis on the attack, but it's weird because it's almost like the attack's living. Ginyu is setting himself into his body after all. So he tries to redirect it, but something weird happens. When using his telekinesis on it, that then redirects Ginyu's attack towards Chaozu, causing them to swap bodies instead. Jace, Berto, and Tien look on confused, as well as Recoome and Goldo. Ginyu swapped into the wrong body. Not only that, he buffed them because he's stronger than Chaozu at the moment. Chaozu's in a stronger body now. Goldo then tries to stop time, just to reposition everyone so Ginyu could swap bodies with Chaozu now. And he's successful. He repositions the group, and then lets go of his breath. Now Ginyu has a clear shot at Chaozu, and just to make sure this goes okay, Goldo then uses his telekinesis on Chaozu to hold him in place. Wow, another telekinesis user. He finds that interesting. Unfortunately for him, he's far too powerful now to be affected by Goldo's telekinesis. But he wonders what he did just there, because it feels like everyone just teleported around. It must be some other telekinesis technique. Ginyu then punctures a hole in his chest, gravely injuring Chaozu's body. All the while, Jace and Berto are still fighting Tien, with Recoome also joining in, although Tien is obviously winning here. Ginyu then enacts one last body change, but at the very last moment, Tien lets out a really powerful Ki, knocking back the 3 Ginyu Force fighters around him, sending Jace right into Ginyu's beam. So Ginyu goes into Jace's body, and Jace goes into Chaozu's body, which is gravely injured, and he bleeds out soon after. So Ginyu just screwed up twice. Not only did he get a weaker body, but he then killed that weaker body and it caused Jace to die. At least now he's in Jace's body, which is a little better, but still, not where he needs to be. And Chaozu's kind of mad because his body's gone now. And before they could do anything about it, Yamcha and Krillin then enter the scene and start fighting too. Tien then tries to explain what's going on and how to not go after Ginyu, and they're a bit confused, but they kind of get it. Chaozu's stuck in that body now, so they can't fight him. That's a relief, because they saw Chaozu's dead body and thought he was actually dead. And kind of, his body's gone, but the actual Chaozu is just in a new body now. Tien sits back and lets them have some fun because clearly they want to fight. The rest of the group fights the Ginyu Force, and Chaozu tries to use Ginyu's body for this too, which is kind of ironic. First they take out Ginyu and Jace's body because obviously he's going to try to swap with other people again. Chaozu also warns them to go after Goldo because he tries to use his time stop again, but he can't really accomplish much with it. And now he learns what that technique is. He stopped time. That's sick. Chaozu really wants to learn that next. But pretty quickly after this, the rest of the Ginyu Force is defeated, and there's not really much they could do. Moments after this, Goku then arrives, a little bit late and also a little bummed because he missed out on the fight. But he's confused because Chaozu's gone and now there's this weird purple guy here. But that is Chaozu. They'll have to explain to him in a bit. Although, Tien asked Chaozu what he's going to do now about the body because they could just get the Dragon Balls and restore his body back, but maybe they will have to wait until Frieza gets here because obviously he's going to come next. And they might need to save the Dragon Balls just in case. But Chaozu decides he kind of likes this. He'll work with his body a bit more, and yeah, they do need to save the Dragon Balls, but this isn't necessarily bad. Before, in his regular body, his power peaked at around 70,000. And here he doesn't have access to Ginyu's full power, but he knows there's a lot more beneath the surface. But overall, this body is stronger, and more importantly to him, taller. Chaozu's been so small his whole life. It could be cool to take this body for a test run for a bit, especially because of how strong it is. Weird. That's gonna take some getting used to, but you know what? They're all cool with it. Plus, this would be better to help them fight Frieza. They don't know how much time they have left, because Frieza's obviously going to show up at some point, and they don't know when. Regardless, they're just going to have to do more training. Tien's going to go back to Kenkai's planet for a bit. Kami says in the meantime he'll keep watch over Earth, and will contact Tien just in case, because he can actually teleport from Kenkai's planet down to here now. His teleportation has gotten a lot better, and he's trying to improve it even further. Goku asks if he can come along, and Tien's fine with that. He'll just have to ask Kenkai first. It's not like he really has authority over that planet, and unlike Goku, Tien's being a lot more respectful of the gods. Thankfully, he's able to get Kenkai to accept because he assumes Goku's going to be another powerful student and also a polite student like Tien. He's right about the powerful part, but not the other part. And the rest of the fighters train on Earth, not knowing when Frieza's going to show up. By now, Tien is the official guardian of Earth, and Kami is still there because he really doesn't know what else to do. It's not like he can necessarily retire like other normal people, but he lives on the lookout and basically helps Tien out whenever he can. This is the first time in a while he was back to being guardian, and of course the Dragon Balls are still linked to him. As far as he knows, there's no way for him to pass down that power to Tien, but he continues to watch over Earth, at least for the time being. Frieza draws closer and closer to Earth, and he also has another thing on his mind. Vegeta escaped a while ago. Clearly he's plotting something, especially with all these people still being around here. Maybe Vegeta's involved with this. Maybe he's even on this planet right now, which makes it even more of a priority. Vegeta's trying to start a coup, isn't he? Well, not exactly. Obviously, no one on Earth is Vegeta's ally. Vegeta's just off on his own in space. One thing he did before he left is steal some supplies. He got his own ship, and it had a healing pod on it so he could at least exploit that. But he brought a scouter with him too, and now he's fighting fire with fire, spying on Frieza just like he did to Vegeta. So he hears about everything that's going on Earth. He sees that Frieza sent some soldiers there, and then he sees he sent the Ginyu Force there. How have the Earthlings grown that strong so quickly? Vegeta's been training, and it's been hell. And he's grown noticeably stronger, but of course he's just been training alone, and it's not like he could really exploit Zenkai's either, even with the healing pod. Right now he's at about 100,000 in terms of power, but based on what he's seeing here, everyone on Earth is stronger than him. Surely Tien is, and same for Kakarot. And then even that little weird vampire guy, he swapped bodies with Ginyu and is probably stronger than Vegeta at the moment too. He doesn't know about Krillin or Yamcha, but they're at least going to be close to his level. Of course, Vegeta eventually planned to go to Earth to fight them, but it looks like that's going to have to wait, especially because Frieza himself is heading there. And he wonders, can they actually defeat Frieza? He's not really too sure what to think, but he's definitely going to keep an eye on this planet. And you know what? Maybe that'll be good for him. Maybe they'll just wipe each other out, best case scenario. After a bit of time traveling, Frieza himself finally arrives on Earth. And he didn't really get to see the full fight with the Ginyu Force, but something weirds him out at first. Ginyu's on their side. At least, it looks to be Ginyu. What he doesn't realize is that's actually Chaozu in Ginyu's body. The whole crew is kind of confusing because there's a Saiyan there, and there's a couple Earthlings plus Ginyu, but the Earthlings all look pretty different. One's really short without a nose, one has luscious hair, and then the other has 3 eyes. Oh, that's the Triclops. He still doesn't know why there's another alien here on Earth. Well, he doesn't realize that there's an Namekian here too, although he's up on the lookout. Frieza introduces himself with fake niceties, and Tien says they could just cut it out. He's the guardian of this planet, and it's his job to make sure nothing happens to it. Plus, as a warrior, he does like getting to battles like this. He'll gladly fight Frieza. But first up, someone else wants to fight him. It's Goku. He and Tien actually did rock, paper, scissors before this, and Goku won, so he gets to go up against Frieza first. Hopefully Frieza's as strong as they say he is, because according to the Ginyu Force, he's pretty strong. So Goku and Frieza begin fighting. Goku's actually strong enough to take on his first form, but once Frieza transforms, he starts running into issues. Thankfully, he does have access to Kaioken by now, and that does push him much further, but at the expense of stressing his body. Frieza then goes into his third form, and then his final form. And once he's in his final form, he defeats Goku pretty easily. Thankfully, Goku's not killed right away. But Frieza basically tosses him aside, and Goku's pretty surprised to see how powerful he is, wondering if Tien actually can handle this. Tien isn't too worried though. Goku is actually the second strongest person here, but Tien gaps him by a decent margin. Plus, now he knows what he's working with too, and he got to see more of Frieza's fighting style. It's kind of a weird struggle for Tien because, on one hand, he wants to see what he's capable of as a warrior, so part of him does want to see Frieza go all out. But on the other hand, he's trying to be more logical here, and he also is Guardian of Earth, so he should probably just get rid of this immediately. Frieza says right now this isn't his full power. He's actually not even at 50% just yet. So out of curiosity, Tien asks for an estimate. Frieza says right now he's at about 10%, and he comes to realize it might be risky pushing Frieza to 100%, but he still might try it. So right now, Frieza's at about 12 million. And Tien actually does match his power. Plus, he has Kaioken, which can boost him up to 10 times right now. He hasn't pushed it to times 20 yet. Goku, on the other hand, is at about 2 million. And since he did learn Kaioken later, he only has times 10 right now as well. So with Kaioken, he actually did overpower Frieza at the moment, but it is stressing his body and he had to use it sparingly. So combine that with the fact that Frieza is actually holding back right now, that's how Goku ended up losing here. Goku's surprised that Tien's that far ahead of him too. He's trained with him for so long, and given his great potential, it kinda makes sense, but he never expected to see him grow that much. So Tien and Frieza start fighting, and Frieza slowly shows off more power, going to 50%. Not needing to transform, of course, he's just innately using that. But he admits, he was holding back against Goku. Against Tien, he won't hold back, and then he goes into 100%. Tien's glad this is going pretty fast. He can see what Frieza's truly capable of and test his own limits. But after a certain point, he's had his fill. He can see what both of them are capable of as warriors, and now he just has to fulfill his duty as guardian. He then looks over at Chaozu. He's gotta get used to that. And he nods. Chaozu understands the signal. He can only do this for a limited time, but he tries it out anyways. This is something he picked up from Guldo. He had just enough time to train and unlock this. Guldo was another user of telekinesis and had his own ability to stop time. So now, Chaozu tried to learn the same thing. And it's really intensive for him because this is the first time he's actually trying it in combat, but it works. Through telekinesis and intense focus, he actually freezes time briefly, but he doesn't activate it on Tien. Tien's brought along with him. Tien then holds out a hand, charging a Kienzan in it, thanking Krillin because this is a pretty great technique. He places it right in front of Frieza, and then Chaozu lets go. Frieza can't process what just happened because time was completely frozen, but out of nowhere a Kienzan appears right in front of his head, cutting it clean off. Frieza's head then falls to the surface below, landing right in front of Krillin. His eyes then dart towards Krillin and his head floats up. He's still alive somehow, and Krillin panics, then making his own Kienzan, cutting Frieza's head in half, which is kind of disgusting. And somehow he's still alive. Really? Still? But Goku's recovered a little bit, and says he'll finish this off, launching a point-blank Kamehameha at the Frieza chunks, destroying him completely. There. He can't regenerate. He could just survive as little pieces. At least, they hope he can't regenerate. Still, that's pretty weird that he could do that. And just like that, Frieza is killed. And the group at least got to show off a little bit more of their individual powers here. So, what's happening with Vegeta out in space? He continues training and eventually gets word of Frieza's death, and Frieza's soldiers continually come towards him, but he fights them all off, growing stronger and stronger over time. Months pass, and eventually King Cold's about to go to Earth, but he decides to go to Vegeta instead. Over this time, Vegeta found harsh planets to train on and grew a lot stronger through combat. But on top of that, he's finally unlocked something that might help him out here, and he shows it off against King Cold. By tapping into his anger, and through intense training, Vegeta's done something amazing, and it completely catches King Cold off guard. He transforms, getting golden hair and blue eyes. Vegeta has become the first Super Saiyan, and he takes great pride in killing King Cold. He wishes he got to do this to Frieza, but this will be good enough. Besides, months ago when Frieza actually came to Earth, Vegeta wouldn't have stood a chance. And King Cold's a good enough kill. Now with him gone and most of the Frieza force basically defunct, Vegeta can go towards planet Earth himself. He should be able to defeat Kakarot, but he wonders about that Triclops. There's only one way to find out. Vegeta comes to Earth. The group knew he would come back at some point, but they weren't really sure when. Of course, this is a few months after Frieza's defeat. So they're not really too surprised. They thought he'd show up after Frieza's defeat, but they wonder what he's been up to. I mean, they just defeated Frieza. Well, it was mostly Tien and Goku, but still. If they could do that and Vegeta couldn't, Vegeta has no chance of winning here. Although when they see Vegeta, he has a newfound level of confidence. Sure, he would have loved to kill Frieza himself, and at the current level he's at, he probably could have done that. But they had to take that glory away from him. Not that it matters though. All he cares about now is defeating them and settling the score here. The first person he's going to fight is Kakarot, so the two begin fighting. And in their base, Goku is actually the stronger one. Vegeta's not too surprised about this. He's glad that Kakarot's also grown strong. He also gets to see Kaioken, which Goku can now push up to times 20. And he has a huge advantage against Vegeta. But Vegeta's still holding back, and he asks Kakarot if he has any other power locked away. Nope, just Kaioken. So he hasn't become a Super Saiyan as well. A Super Saiyan? Vegeta then transforms, showing off Super Saiyan. And at this level he now has a huge advantage. He completely outpaces Goku and overpowers him too, eventually ending the fight, defeating him. It looks like he's the truly superior one now. Although, he still has to fight Tien. Tien wonders if Vegeta can give him a challenge because yeah, he's stronger than Goku, but he might not be stronger than Tien himself. There is still a gap in power there, although Goku started to close that after Frieza's defeat. Tien asks Krillin for a senzu, and Krillin thinks he's going to give it to Goku, but no, he gives it to Vegeta. Krillin thinks he's crazy, but Goku laughs. He probably would have done the same thing here. Tien's going to fight Vegeta and he wants a fair fight, so he wants Vegeta to be at his fullest. Vegeta's amazed that he just recovered all of his energy and injuries that way. He's ready to battle. The two of them start their fight. Tien actually has a new level of Kaioken he wants to try out, but he doesn't want to end the battle right away, so he does hold back. And Vegeta could see that somehow, Tien's still ahead of him. That hybrid potential is really carrying him far. Even as a Super Saiyan, he can't defeat Tien. He does have to push himself a bit, using a little bit of Kaioken, but not to a high extent. And to finish the battle, he shows off his true power. It's a new level of Kaioken he's been working on, and right now he doesn't have a control on it. His aura flares up significantly. His 3 eyes glow red as well. This is what he calls Evolved Kaioken, a stage of Kaioken where he just constantly maxes it out. He doesn't know the exact multiplier either. Essentially, it's an unrestrained version of Kaioken. Whatever his body can handle at the moment is what it's going to use. And it constantly regulates itself, just to not expend energy unnecessarily. For example, when it's activated and he's standing still, there's no Kaioken multiplier, but the second he moves, it instantly jumps to whatever his maximum level is, and this way he conserves energy as well as his stamina. It's basically an automatic reflex. And with this, he's able to defeat Vegeta, with one attack no less. He still thinks they should kill Vegeta, but Vegeta isn't even interested in killing them anymore. Plus, Tien also realized that Vegeta's not truly a threat anymore. If Goku can get that Super Saiyan form for himself, well, he'll be above Vegeta, and Tien's already far above Vegeta too. Vegeta simply just wanted to settle the score, mainly wanting to beat Kakarot and Tien. And he still has a ways to go because, yeah, he did beat Kakarot, but he couldn't beat Tien. And if Kakarot does become a Super Saiyan, that's going to be a whole different story. He can't really explain why, but something about that Triclops fascinates him. He's about to leave and train some more, but Goku says he should stay. It would be nice to have a training partner like him around. And Vegeta takes offense to this. Is that all he is now? Just a training partner? They should fear him. They shouldn't be taking his presence so lightly. And the rest of the group looks on, not really too scared. Then Vegeta looks over and sees what looks to be Ginyu. Wait, why is Ginyu here? Did he switch sides and join them? He then speaks and has a really high-pitched voice. Oh, okay, that's not Ginyu. Yeah, Chaozu actually did keep his body. It's nice being a lot taller. Plus, he looks more intimidating this way. Whenever he dies, he'll get his old body back in Otherworld, and he could always wish for it back with the Dragon Balls, but for now he's just going to keep this one. It's not too bad. Some time passes. Vegeta eventually does warm up to the group, but he's still Vegeta. It's pretty much like he was in the normal series. But at some point, tragedy strikes. Goku suddenly falls ill. They try everything to cure him, but it's already too late. The disease rapidly progresses, and Goku dies from the heart virus. And the Dragon Balls can't do anything to revive him because he died of natural causes. So naturally, the group tries to figure out a way to bring Goku back. They're not really sure what to do right now, but they're going to find something. Although, things go from bad to worse. Because one day out of nowhere, 2 villains attack a city. It's the androids. 17 and 18 have arrived. There's no time traveler here. This is essentially what happened in Trunks' timeline. And by the way, Vegeta is with Bulma right now, and Trunks is on the way, just because Vegeta got here a little later than normal. Anyways, the androids attack, and of course, the whole group goes to the city. They're a lot better prepared this time. Krillin and Yamcha are much stronger than normal, and as for Chaozu, he's far stronger than normal. There is no Piccolo there in the group, which is a double-edged sword because that's one strong fighter they're missing, but at the same time, the Dragon Balls aren't at risk because Kami's safe on the lookout. Even though Tien is Guardian, they're still linked to Kami. Speaking of that, Tien and Vegeta are there in the city too, of course. Vegeta as a Super Saiyan is probably marginally stronger than normal because he got Super Saiyan earlier on, and obviously Tien's way stronger than normal. And I feel like Gohan would be training more consistently now, especially because Goku's been constantly present on Earth, and Tien's taken an interest in him, especially after Goku's death, basically taking Gohan under his wing as a student, so he's been training a lot at the lookout. And Chi-Chi's a lot less resistant to it because, unlike Piccolo kidnapping him, this is one of Goku's friends training him, so they're not off to a rocky start with that. But these androids are prepared. They don't actually have data on Super Saiyan Vegeta, but still, they're strong enough to hold their own against him. Actually, more than that. But it's not an easy fight for the androids. The androids are stronger than anyone here, but collectively, their combined power could take down an android. Tien has an idea. Using his vision, he tries to locate vital points, stealing Granola's whole flow here, and he can pinpoint that they have some sort of weak spot within them. It's their bombs. If they could activate those bombs, they'll just defeat the androids like that, which would be a pretty nice shortcut, but Vegeta's not going to take that shortcut. He'd rather defeat them normally. Honestly, Tien kind of wants to too. Well, the only other option they have is actually teaming up. Vegeta will have to fight alongside Tien and not try and fight on his own. Vegeta's very resistant to this, and so is Tien. They still pretty much don't like each other, but reluctantly they do have to work together. So first, the two of them focus on Android 17, trying to fight him alone, and the rest of the group holds off Android 18. It's a tough battle, but together, Vegeta and Tien are able to defeat Android 17. And just for reassurance, Tien does activate his bomb once he's defeated, and flinging him high up into the atmosphere before he fully explodes. Now it's time to help the rest of the group. Against Android 18 they couldn't really do much, and now 18's really pissed, especially seeing 17 die. But just as Tien and Vegeta are about to intervene, they sense a huge surge in power. They look over. Krillin, Yamcha, and Chaozu have been defeated, but Gohan is still barely standing. He's been feeling a crazy mix of emotions recently. Seeing his friends in danger like this, very soon after his father died, he's been pretty on edge. Combine that with the fact that his training's been going so well too, and he has a reserve of power that he's finally tapping into. Vegeta watches on stun as Gohan gets a golden aura. Kakarot was able to accomplish this briefly before dying, but now, this kid's become a Super Saiyan as well. Gohan fully transforms, and at this level, he's actually stronger than Vegeta. Chaozu uses the last of his strength for telekinesis, holding Android 18 in place. He's worked on his time control more too, and he basically freezes time just for her. And Gohan's rage helps him fight. With her held in place too, this makes it a lot easier to defeat her, and he also accidentally activates her bomb, with Tien then quickly using telekinesis, flinging her up into the sky too, exploding as well. The androids have been defeated, and thankfully, no one in the main group died against them, but the city is pretty badly destroyed, and a bunch of people did die here. The Dragon Balls will fix that at least. But they don't realize what they just prevented. Although now they have a new mission. They need to bring back Goku. So Tien goes to Kami and he reiterates, the Dragon Balls can't do that. Well, that's Kami's Dragon Balls. Tien asks to know more about Kami's origins, and Kami honestly doesn't know much about himself. He forgot a lot about that, although Popo does know some info. Maybe one way to jog his memory is if he were to remerge with King Piccolo, but King Piccolo is sealed away, and that container is stashed away somewhere. This is the first time Vegeta's been up at the lookout, and he can instantly recognize Kami's a Namekian. Maybe they should go to Planet Namek. They're known for their magic abilities, and they probably have their own set of Dragon Balls there too. He thought they were just myths, but no. If they exist here, they probably exist on Namek. And thankfully they have Popo and Bulma to help. It's a long shot because maybe those Dragon Balls have the same restriction as Earth's Dragon Balls, but there's only one way to find out. With basically no other options in mind, the group decides to go to Namek. A ship is built. Popo is able to find Kami's old ship, and Kami decides he does want to go along too. With Bulma's help, the ship is upgraded as well. Tien, Krillin, and Vegeta are on the crew to go to Namek as well as Kami. Kami's not going to miss out the chance to learn more about himself. Not to mention, maybe learn more about the Dragon Balls and how he could upgrade his own. They depart Earth, and after a short time traveling, they make it to Namek. Of course, this time it's peaceful. There's no threat of Frieza being there or anyone. And because of that, it is a pretty quick trip. It's not like they're there to fight or anything. Plus, with Kami as part of the crew, the Namekians are a lot more inclined to help. They learn about the Dragon Balls on Namek, and it turns out, Porunga has the same restriction as Shenron. There's no way he could revive anyone who died of natural causes. It's a shame they came now because Elder Guru recently died. Mori's the current Elder, and maybe Guru would have remembered Kami, or at least the Namekian he split off from. And Mori says technically, it might be possible for Shenron to revive Goku, but it's a stretch. They've never attempted it, but the restriction with Porunga is the fact that he can't revive anyone who died of natural causes. However, they don't know if that's a hard limit, or if it'll just revive the person, and then they'll die of the natural cause right after. Theoretically, it might work if you split it into two separate wishes. I mean, look at what happened with Guru and Canon after all. He was revived, and he eventually did die right after. But it did temporarily bring him back. It just didn't fix the cause of his death. But again, they have no frame of reference, and they don't know this. It's just what we know. And Guru wonders if maybe Kami should have merged with Piccolo to get his old power. That could also help too, because imagine how much stronger that would make Shenron. That's kind of an issue though, because Piccolo has long since been sealed away, and even if they did free him somehow, how would they get them to merge together? He wouldn't willingly agree to that, and he has a bargaining chip, himself. If he just game ends himself, that would kill Kami as well. Tien has a suggestion though. Why not use the Dragon Balls to merge them together? Well, that would be kind of tough because Shenron would need to be stronger than Piccolo, which he isn't. Although, Purunga might be strong enough to actually accomplish this. They're not entirely sure, but it's worth a shot. So they collect the Dragon Balls around Namek, and all the other Namekians are willing to give the Dragon Balls to them, particularly because of Kami. So they summon Purunga, and they see that he's a much different looking dragon than Shenron, but still pretty similar. Although it is pretty amazing to see him because he's massive. Kami makes the wish, and Purunga says he can make it work. Thankfully, King Piccolo is dormant, so he's not resisting at all. Plus, I'd imagine Purunga is stronger than Shenron anyways. And while Piccolo still might be stronger than Kami, neither surpasses this power. Purunga is able to merge the two of them together, and Kami feels a huge change. He's reformed into the nameless Namekian, but also at the same time, he grows a lot stronger too. He doesn't inherit King Piccolo's youth because, well, King Piccolo never got that here. So he's still an older Namekian, and he looks pretty much the same. But technically the Namekian you're seeing right now is the nameless Namekian. So this trip benefits them in a few ways. For one, it powers up Kami. 2, he learns more about the Dragon Balls and how to modify his own Dragon Balls. And 3, he learns about what might be a loophole. Maybe they can actually revive Goku. It is going to take some time though. Kami's going to go back to Earth, try to upgrade Shenron, and then they're going to have to find the Dragon Balls there. But it shouldn't take more than a few days to do that. They thank the Namekians and return home. Tien and Krillin spent the entire time training. Vegeta only went along because he actually did want to see this planet, and if they had the same set of Dragon Balls there. Plus, he is interested in reviving Kakarot. Once they return to Earth, Vegeta goes off on his own, and Tien tries to go back to Otherworld to visit King Kai. Thankfully, he's welcome there, and Kami's able to bring him there too. And when he gets to King Kai's planet, he's greeted by Goku. This is the whole reason he wanted to go here. He felt like he might meet Goku in the first place. He tells Goku everything that's gone down, and Goku says it's not too bad here. I mean, he's been here before, but not actually dead like this. But hey, he could train 24/7. The past few weeks he's been here, he's just been doing that. And he's met a lot of strong warriors here too. And unlike normal, he's not really hesitant about coming back. It's not like he feels the same level of guilt for drawing villains to Earth, and of course, it's not like he had a fun death either. Like, he didn't go out in battle, he died to a virus. So, he's more than willing to be revived. Tien stays up here for a bit and spends some time training with Goku. Kami's then able to collect the Dragon Balls, and he also upgrades Shenron in the process. So here's the thing, we know the Dragon Balls can't revive someone who died of natural causes like that. And typically, I won't ever do this in my what-ifs. But there's a few reasons I'm going to try and make it work here because, first of all, it's an April Fool's what-if, and this won't be the craziest stretch. And second, it's so rare I get to have a what-if where Tien and Goku are rivals, so let's do this. So think of it like this. In the original story, this was also Goku's second death on Earth, so regardless, even if he could be revived from the heart virus, Shenron already revived him once, so that prevented it anyways. And the way I assume this could work here is the fact that Shenron could just revive the person, but it won't cure the cause of death right away. But here's the loophole. If Shenron can grant 2 or 3 wishes, that could be dealt with. And with Shenron being upgraded here, he can do that now. Plus, this is Goku's first death in the story, so it's not like he's getting the same wish twice. So we're not really changing the rules of Shenron, we're just kind of bending them a little and seeing if there's a loophole there. And this is what Kami does. He makes 2 wishes at the same time. He tells Shenron to revive Goku, and once he's back, immediately cure him. And he understands that this counts as 2 wishes, he just wants them to happen at the same time. And Shenron says that's simple enough to grant. He does so. Goku is brought back to life, and simultaneously, his body is cured of the heart virus. And it works perfectly. Although, Kami does have one more wish left. So, he decides to revive everyone killed by 17 and 18 because a bunch of people did die in that city. Although, he's a little bit hasty with how he phrases this. He just has to revive everyone killed by 17 and 18. Not realizing that there was someone bad killed by 17 and 18. Dr. Gero. Right when they were awakened, they killed Gero like normal. And inadvertently, this wish revives him. He or Shenron never specified to revive only the good people because they assumed that only good people died anyways. Gero's immediately brought back, and he's really confused. So he has to catch himself up to speed. Learning of what happened. The androids ended up losing in the end, and honestly, he's kind of glad that happened because, well, they betrayed him. He could go back to building Android 19, or maybe back to one of his past projects like 13, 14, 15, maybe even 16, but no. He's done building other androids. He's already modified himself too, which is pretty nice, but he has a much better project in mind, something far more perfect than those androids. The good thing is, no one even knows Gero's back to life. Hell, they probably don't even know about his existence in general, so this is a good thing. He doesn't even know how he came back in the first place, but he won't question it. So, he doesn't work on any other androids, and not even Android 19 is used. He puts all of his efforts on Cell instead. And now we enter the time skip after the Android saga. Of course, at some point, Vegeta and Goku would fight again. Thanks to Goku going to Otherworld and training 24/7 for a few weeks, he actually did grow a little bit stronger. Plus, like I mentioned before, he did unlock Super Saiyan right before he died, so in Otherworld he got a better control on that. Although it was only a few weeks there, so it's not like it makes a huge difference, but I think it's enough to actually make it so they're both even right now. Vegeta wins his first fight against him as a Super Saiyan. The next fight, he loses, and the fight after that, it's pretty much a draw. The two are dead even. Each of them also wants to get past Tien right now, but he's also far ahead. Tien is pretty separate from the group though. He does spend a lot of his time on the lookout with Kami. I mean, he is Guardian of Earth, that's where he needs to be. And they visit from time to time, but besides Chaozu who lives with him, no one ever really sees him. It's not that they don't want to, and it's not that Tien's purposely separating himself from the group, but this is just his duty now, and he's fine being up here. He's growing stronger, still training, and he has Chaozu here too, who weirdly enough is still in Ginyu's body. Kami even suggests getting the Dragon Balls because now Shenron can grant 3 wishes, so it's not like it's going to be a big issue, but Chaozu's grown used to this. Plus, by now he's grown so used to the body that it would set him back a little bit. Like, it's going into a weaker body that can't really control his powers as well. So he keeps procrastinating with it, and then at some point, it just becomes too late, so he just decides to stay in this body. Tien still is interested in training with Goku and Vegeta, so he visits them occasionally, trying to fight them himself. Plus, he does want to train Gohan as well, after seeing all his potential, and the fact that they're both hybrid aliens. He wonders if Gohan has more potential than him because Saiyans are pretty strong. He still doesn't know much about the Triclops people, but they're at least learning more about Saiyans from Vegeta. And even without Tien around, Goku's around. And Gohan has a nice balance in his life because he gets to study like Chi-Chi wants, but also train like Goku wants. Again, him not being kidnapped by Piccolo in the Saiyan saga actually ended up working out pretty well here. Chi-Chi's not as opposed to training. As for Kami, he's not really going to be much of a fighter. Like, yeah, he grew stronger merging with Piccolo. I'd imagine far stronger too, because look at how strong Piccolo grew when he merged with Kami. But still, unlike Piccolo in the main series, Kami doesn't have eternal youth. Kami is still an old-ass man, which is fine, he's still powerful, but right now it's not enough to catch up to the others. Although, maybe he would have the idea of possibly wishing for youth because he knows King Piccolo wanted it, and now Piccolo's part of him. So the thought crosses his mind. But at the same time, he's retired. That's the whole reason he had Tien become Guardian, so it would be kind of pointless. He should just enjoy his old age now. He doesn't need to be a warrior or anything. Plus, Earth has been pretty peaceful recently. It's not like they need that. I still feel like some of the great Saiyaman stuff will happen for Gohan, although one difference is Mr. Satan is not going to be a world-renowned hero. He's still going to be the world champion of the tournaments, but he never saved the world. I feel like the biggest difference that would make is that Satan City wouldn't be called Satan City. He's still going to be super famous, and Videl's still going to be a vigilante, basically. Although at some point, a new world tournament begins. Following the 7-year time skip, we get to this. And of course, everyone wants to join the tournament. Kami stays up on the lookout and tells Tien he should go join. Same for Chaozu. Yamcha shows up too. He's been spending a lot of time with Krillin because, unfortunately for Krillin, he's still single here. But at the same time, thanks to Tien beating a motivator, Krillin's grown stronger, continuing his training, and that rubbed off on Yamcha as well. Especially after Vegeta ended up stealing Bulma from him. It's not like they really had much else to do. And yeah, Vegeta's with Bulma, so Trunks is born by now. Same for Goku and Chi-Chi having Goten too, if that wasn't obvious. So while this tournament doesn't have Android 18, it still has a few other contestants that it didn't normally have. Tien, Chaozu, and Yamcha are there. But also somebody else that they don't recognize. One of the people registering for the tournament steps up to the punching machine, showcasing an amazing amount of power. And everyone's pretty dumbfounded by his strength. Not just because he's physically powerful, but his ki feels so weird. It's like a mixture of everyone else's. And he doesn't look like a normal human either. He looks pretty alien, in fact. The contender registers for the tournament. His name is Cell. All these years, Jiro's been working on him, and he decided it would be better to just make him perfect right off the bat. He's gathered a lot more data, accelerated Cell's growth, and, most importantly, made Cell obedient to him. But Cell does still have his own free will and such. It's just that his only ally is Jiro, and Jiro put him in this tournament to kill Goku as well as his friends. As far as they know, he's just a random mysterious fighter that somehow has energy similar to theirs, so that kind of tips them off. Cell then approaches Goku, telling him he can't wait to fight him. He's heard so much about him, same for his friends. How does he know all of them? Something's definitely off here. And even though Tien is the strongest one here, the Red Ribbon Army's gripe was with Goku originally, so that is Cell's main target. Shin and Kibito are of course at the tournament, and they're watching on pretty confused. Jiro's also in the stands as well, hidden amongst the crowd. But Shin and Kibito don't know who this fighter is. He's someone they know nothing about. One of the first fights is Cell versus Spopovich, and with one hit, Spopovich is sent flying out of the ring. There's nothing he could do to Cell. Angrily, Yama then tries to jump in the ring and steal energy from him, thinking that he might be a good target, because Babidi actually thinks so too, communicating with him from far away. And when he tries to steal Cell's energy, he can't even get close to him. Cell puts a barrier up around himself, and then telekinetically, he lifts up Yamu and Spopovich and tosses them out of the entire arena. And since it wasn't Cell's fault, they're actually disqualified for attacking him outside of the tournament itself. And they briefly sense his energy flare up there. He has such a crazy mixture of energy. They sense Goku, Vegeta, Tien, the Ginyu Force, Frieza. Everyone's in there. This is a much more potent Cell than normal. The tournament starts progressing, and without Spopovich and Yamu, Shin and Kibito don't know how to find Babidi's ship. But that's fine, because Babidi comes to them instead. Well, not literally. He sends Dabura in his place. In the first round, one of the fights is Krillin versus Yamcha. But before they begin, a demonic-looking man appears in the middle of the arena. Dabura has infiltrated the tournament, then simply lifting his hand up as the arena around them explodes, flinging everybody away, sending those in the crowd into a panic. Shin and Kibito watch on in terror. They didn't think Dabura would show up here, and Jiro's in the stands just watching on confused. Who the hell's this guy? And naturally, our protagonists are pretty confused as well. Same for Cell. But Dabura has been sent here to get energy from Cell instead, because it seems like that might be easier. Plus, Babidi might be able to manipulate him. Dabura then glares over at Cell, smirking. Cell's not intimidated at all, though. A new challenger. Interesting. Dabura and Cell each take on a battle stance, and their fight begins. The Kais come over to the group, revealing who they are, and they're trying to explain what's happening here. They know about Dabura, but not about Cell. This is pretty worrisome. Not only is Majin Buu here, but so is this random new villain. Plus, this isn't the regular Cell that we're used to. Like, yeah, he's perfect, but he also has more data and different DNA, particularly Tien's part of him too. And we've seen how Tien's changed the scenario. Jiro has spent extra time developing him. So, regardless of what you think of how Dabura versus Cell would go, this version of Cell is actually stronger than Dabura. Not by a significant margin, but enough that he could actually win here. It's just that he has to use his full power. The two have a pretty intense battle, and it gets so intense that every spectator in the arena has to leave, except for a few of them. Anyone who's friends with the Z-Fighters is still there, and there's also an old man in the crowd trying to hide to make sure that he's not seen. But Bulma's still there in the crowd, and she kind of recognizes him. He looks like that Dr. Gero that she heard about a while ago, although looking a lot more weird and decrepit. And he seems pretty happy. He didn't expect Cell to find a challenge like this, but this is a good test run for him. And eventually, Cell ends up winning the battle, defeating Dabura pretty easily. Shin and Kibito are concerned, and now that the group is caught up to speed, they realize Babidi probably did get some energy from this, and now they don't know where to go to find his ship, so that's another problem too. But this should be a good thing. Now with Dabura gone, there's no way Babidi's getting any energy. He has to actually come here if he wants to. So this might be a good thing. And that's exactly what Babidi's thinking too. He starts to panic. Cell is getting ready to fight the others, while Babidi's trying to think of a plan B. He did get some energy from the fight between Dabura and Cell, but only about 30 or 40% of what he actually needed to revive Buu, which is still a good amount, but how is he going to get the rest? He still has Pui Pui and Yakon, but there's no way he's going to be able to stab anyone with the energy collection device, nor does he have anyone strong enough to collect energy by just fighting normally. Although, he could try one more thing. He did consider trying to take over somebody else. When he looks around the tournament, there are some people who are not necessarily pure-hearted. Tien, for example, actually is pure-hearted by now. In order to become a kami, all that evil in his heart needed to be purged, so he's overcome that, unfortunately for Babidi. There is Vegeta too, who he might actually be able to take over, but that's going to be kind of a long shot. But there's the obvious option. Why not take over Cell? He's clearly very evil, and with that much evil, he should be pretty easy to manipulate. So without a second thought, Babidi goes for it. At first he thought Cell was going to derail his plans, but if anything, it's just going to make his plans even better. Cell stands in the middle of the arena, and then beckons to Goku. He'll fight him next. Tien says he doesn't like this, it's really sketchy, and he asks the Kais, could this help Majin Buu? Shin says he's not quite sure. The fact that Dabura fought him means that he's probably not allies with Babidi. So there's no way Cell could be contributing energy to him. At least, as he is now. Goku steps into the ring, ready to fight. He's not going to turn it down. But as he gets ready to battle, something weird then happens to Cell. His ki flares up, and it looks like he struggles for a bit, but not really for long. Only a few seconds. Then there's a bigger surge of ki. His power increases further, and Shin and Kibito look mortified. Nothing physically changes about Cell. His aura changes a bit, and there's an M on his forehead now. Shin tells them all they need to stand down. They can't fight him anymore. He's been possessed by Babidi. Jiro then reveals himself in the stands, wondering what's going on with Cell. With all the evil in Cell right now, Babidi's able to control him completely. He doesn't have any autonomy like Majin Vegeta did, for example. And Jiro yells out at Cell, telling him to stop this. Just kill them while he has the chance. Cell then quickly turns around, lifts a finger up, and launches a death beam at Dr. Gero, killing him instantly. The rest of the group still has no idea who Dr. Gero is, and they don't really have a clue about who Cell is either. But Cell explains himself, telling them what he is, and explaining now that he's far stronger than before thanks to Babidi, so he's more than willing to fight under Babidi's command now. Of course, Goku and Vegeta don't really want to stand down here. Even Tien's kind of thinking that too, but at the same time as Earth's guardian, he can't let his pride as a fighter get ahead of him. It might actually be better to retreat, especially if the Kais are doing so. They are technically his superiors. But Vegeta says they don't need to leave just yet. They could at least try fighting him for a bit. And it's not like Cell waits around for him to make a move. He attacks first, starting a fight with Goku, and Vegeta joins in too, trying to have some fun for himself. Shin tells him they need to stop immediately, but then Cell lifts up another finger and points it at him, launching a death beam. Tien's able to jump in front of it quickly, blocking it with his full power. The big issue here is, Goku and Vegeta think they actually have a chance, which they do. With their combined power, they can defeat Cell as is right now, but it's not going to be easy, and because of that, they're going to risk giving energy to Babidi, which is exactly what he wants. And because he's not particularly strong right now, there's no reason for them to stand down. They think they should just finish this battle, and Cell decides to make it a bit more fun too, spawning some Cell Juniors. Now, they don't really have a choice but to fight. Although the fight is very short-lived. At some point, Cell doesn't end up getting enough energy from fighting them. It's too late, and Bobbity tells him to stand down, coming back to the ship. And because Cell's completely under his control, he follows those commands. Goku and Vegeta are about to chase him, but Kibito says it's not worth it. They need to go now. So reluctantly they agree, and then they teleport to the sacred world of Kai. They need to figure out what to do next, and this is probably the safest place to plan. Tien regrets not getting involved either. He knows it would have given energy to Bobbity, but he probably could have killed Cell with a full power attack alone, like go into evolved Kaioken and use a Kikoho. He has no doubt that he could have beat Cell alone, but Shin says it would have been too risky. Either way, Boo would have been revived. Bobbity backed them into a corner. The amount of power they would have needed to use to actually defeat Cell would have revived him regardless. So now they need to think of what to do next. They don't get to see Boo in person, so they don't know how truly strong he is. And Shin's trying to think of any way they could possibly defeat him. Maybe someone here could train with the Z-Sword. They do have some pretty strong fighters: Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Tien. If anyone would be able to pull a Z-Sword, it's probably Tien. Gohan's then the strongest behind him, with Goku and Vegeta being pretty much even and right behind Gohan. Goku does have a better idea though. At least a backup in case that Z-Sword thing doesn't work. And Vegeta says he can't seriously be thinking about that, but Goku says it would be a really fun idea. The Kais wonder what he's talking about, and Goku says he was thinking about fusion. After he died from the heart virus, during those few weeks he was dead, he learned some pretty cool things in Otherworld, and he had revisited from time to time. King Kai did let him go back. There, he learned Metamor and Fusion. And Tien had actually learned this too. Goku told Tien about it, and he decided to go to Otherworld himself to learn it. Goku had even practiced it with Gohan before. And Vegeta, although Vegeta isn't really too fond of it. He knows the dance, but he never actually did fuse with Goku. But Goku tells him it would be really cool. Imagine how strong two Saiyans merging would be. Or even better, him and Tien. Actually, there was something Tien was thinking of, but he never really tried it before. He had merged with Goku over the time skip, just to practice it. But come on, this is an April Fool's scenario. I thought of something a little better here. He had a theory that if he were to use his multiform and fuse, he wonders if that can make him even stronger. And if that doesn't work, sure, he'll just fuse with someone else here. But imagine it. His multiform cuts his power into quarters, but the multiplier of fusion is vastly greater than that, and especially if he's merging 4 people at once instead of 2. That is a thing with fusion, you can merge more than 2 people. So he wondered if he can combine the multiform with fusion somehow. He never tried that, but maybe it'll be worth a shot here. Shin's not too sure because that might be risky, and Tien says there's no risk. He'll just go into his multiform and then fuse, and if it doesn't work, he could instantly just go back to his normal form. Goku has already decided he's fusing with Vegeta. He wants to try that out. And Tien will fuse with Gohan as a backup. The Kai still think they should try the Z-Sword, so they do that in the meantime. Back on Earth, Majin Buu is revived. And Bobbity makes a pretty big mistake here. He's not focused on Cell anymore. Cell is still under his control, but Cell has a brief moment of lucidity. You know, he's grateful for the power he has, but he's not really grateful for Bobbity controlling him. So, while Bobbity's more focused on Buu, Cell then death beams Bobbity. Cell retains the power of the Majin boost, but also, he has his free will back. He's gonna fight Buu now. Buu doesn't necessarily seem ready to fight. He's not taking things seriously, so Cell starts the battle, and Buu gets pretty angry pretty quick and fights back. At some point, Cell realizes that Buu is far more powerful than him, and even with the Majin boost, he doesn't really stand a chance. But he does have another idea. Even if he can't necessarily win like this, he might be able to get the upper hand another way. Amidst the fight, he stabs Buu with his tail. It's a good thing Gero kept this. Even though he's perfect, he still can't absorb other people if he wants to. He just didn't expect to have to use it. He absorbs a bunch of power from Buu, and Buu is able to free himself from it at first, but Cell already powered up a good amount, and he gets some of Buu's abilities from this. They're still not on even footing right now, but this does close the gap a bit. Slowly but surely, Cell starts to do this more and more, taking more power from Buu, and at some point they're completely matched. And this is when Cell fully strikes. He absorbs Buu completely. He probably should have absorbed Bobbity instead of killing him. That magic could have been useful. But now, he has all that magic from Buu, plus all of his power and his other weird abilities. Cell then powers up to his maximum, and he feels a huge surge of strength. It's incredible to think he could have gotten this strong. The best part is, no one on the Sacred World of Kais is even aware of this. Cell already knows where they ran off to. Thanks to absorbing Buu, he did by extension absorb the South Supreme Kai and the Grand Supreme Kai, so now he knows about Shin and Kibito, and he assumes where they went off to. And thanks to having those 2 Kai as part of him, he thinks that he might even be able to teleport there now. There's only one way to find that out. And without hesitation, he teleports to the Sacred World of Kai, ready for another battle. The group is there trying to pull the Z-Sword. Right now, Tien's attempting, so it looks like they just need to get ready for battle. It's a good thing he wasn't going around destroying Earth or anything, but still, this is definitely not ideal. They're not really prepared to fight him, but the Kais tell them to go with the other plan, so Tien stops trying to pull the Z-Sword, and Gohan then motions to everyone to fall back. Cell isn't exactly sure of what they're planning. He did get a lot of extra data over the time skip, but he didn't learn about fusion from them because he never saw them do it, and by the time they even were trying that, Gero stopped collecting that data. Plus, they did learn it in Otherworld and didn't necessarily use it on the surface, so he's not sure what they're going to try, but whatever. He fights Gohan for now. Wondering why Gohan's buying time, but with Cell being Cell, he'd probably be interested in seeing them power up in any way they can. Goku then tells Vegeta it's now or never. Reluctantly, he decides to do the fusion dance. And thankfully, since he already did learn it before, even without practicing it, he pulls it off first try. As for Tien, he splits himself into 4. Then, he tries to do a 4-way fusion. And when you think about it, this is pretty perfect, because yeah, it cuts his power into quarters, but like I said before, there's that huge boost, and plus, fusion gives a boost if you're more compatible with the person you're fusing with. What fusion is more compatible than fusing with yourself? It's a long shot, but hey, it's an April Fool's scenario, and it ends up working. Gohan's defeated by Cell pretty quickly, but 2 new fighters are ready to stand up against him. Gogeta, and, Tien? He doesn't really know what to call himself. He guesses Merged Tien's a good name for this. He just looks like Tien wearing fusion clothes, while Gogeta's actually a completely different person. Gogeta goes in first. He has a less volatile fusion right now, because Merged Tien doesn't really know what to expect with his. His might be even more short-lived. Gogeta briefly fights in base, thinking that it would be enough, but Cell is actually really strong here, because think about it, it's a stronger Cell with Boo absorbed into him, and being boosted by Babidi on top of that. Plus, I'd assume he'd get a Zenkai or 2 from his battle with Boo, especially with him losing in the beginning. So, even though Gogeta did want to just fight in base, he decides to power into Super Saiyan. And quickly the tide of the battle turns. He asks Tien if he wants a chance to fight, and he obliges. It looks like they might actually have this handled. Although Tien goes kind of overboard. Immediately he goes into Evolve Kaioken, and these attacks are far too strong for Cell to handle. Having 2 fusions is actually overkill. They might have even just been fine with Gogeta alone. But they like this. It's at least an attempt for both of them to try their fusions out. Although Gogeta tells Tien to not get too greedy. He knows he wants to test out his power, but Gogeta wants to as well. Tien can do this whenever he wants. Gogeta can. Especially if convincing Vegeta is going to be hard again. Gogeta then powers up into Super Saiyan 2, finishing off the battle and killing Cell for good. And no, Cell doesn't regenerate, even with his regeneration being boosted by Boo. Gogeta completely eradicates him. And this way, they literally kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Boo's gone, and so is Cell. They kind of wish they got more time to fight either of them, but the stakes were far too high. And Cell kind of forced them to fight that early. Although, they still didn't pull the Z-Sword, so it might be fun to try that. So Tien takes this opportunity. He probably would have been fine pulling the sword even unfused, but this will make things easier. And, with no effort, pulls it out of the rock. Then swinging it around like it's nothing. Nice. This should be fun to train with. Goku thanks Vegeta again for that. That was pretty fun. Tien visits the Sacred World of Kai's again because he thinks it could be beneficial for his training. Considering he's the Guardian of Earth, and he helped stop the threat of Boo and Cell, Shin and Kibito are pretty open to it. He did pull the Z-Sword after all, and he kinda just kept it for himself. So, he visits this planet periodically, and trains with the Z-Sword. But the Z-Sword doesn't really last too long. At some point it does end up breaking, and it frees Elder Kai from the sword. You could probably see where I'm going with this now. While there is no immediate threat, Elder Kai at some point does offer to do the ritual on him. Tien shows great promise, and it would be interesting to see how strong he grows. So, he agrees to it. He would rather work for the power, but he is kind of interested about the ritual. It might unlock something that he didn't even know was there. So he goes for it. And thus, we have the birth of Ultimate Tien. He doesn't look much different, but his strength is exceptional. Think of what happened with Gohan when he got Ultimate. With Tien also having hybrid potential, pretty much the same thing is happening here. His power vastly increases. But he's not just going to end there. He's going to keep training here on the Sacred World of Kai. While he's there, let's go back to Earth. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and everyone else continue their normal lives. Although something does change for Kami. First of all, Tien's off planet right now, and he's probably going to spend more time on the Sacred World of Kai. Which is fine, but Earth does need a guardian in the meantime. And Kami's fine covering for him here. He doesn't really have anything else to do after all. And this will ensure that Tien grows stronger, so it's a win-win. But Kami has been thinking. He doesn't really do much anymore. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does make him wonder if he could do more and help the group even more. And following the Buu saga, he kind of feels like he should be playing a more active role. He did enjoy living a peaceful life after giving Tien the position, but he'd rather use his power to help, especially because Piccolo is part of him now. That didn't really make him much stronger, but it does get him wondering, what if he wished for youth like King Piccolo planned to do? It wouldn't hurt, and if anything, it would be nice for him to have. Plus, whenever Tien's gone, he does need a strong person in his place. They've basically been working as Guardian jointly after all. So, Kami gets the Dragon Balls and makes a wish for himself. He wishes for eternal youth just like King Piccolo planned. Now that he's reformed as the Nameless Namekian, and he also has his youth back, his power greatly increases. Everyone else on Earth is pretty surprised that he did this. They didn't expect it. It's not like this makes him the strongest person in the group, not even close. But now he's actually a viable fighter, if he does end up deciding to fight, that is. It could be a good option, and he might even train himself here on the lookout. It's funny how his students rubbing off on him. More time passes. Eventually, Beerus wakes up. He still has the same dream. He's not dreaming about a superhuman god or whatever, it's still the Super Saiyan god. And around now, he expects to actually encounter that rival. So, he visits Earth pretty much around the same time. Thankfully, Earth does have some pretty strong Saiyans. Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. But none of them are godly. And after Beerus arrives, Kami does call Tien to come back to Earth. with Elder Kai also realizing that Beerus is awake and telling Tien he should go there. So he teleports to Earth. Beerus is pretty intrigued to see a Triclops. Apparently he's the strongest warrior on Earth right now, and he's been training under the Supreme Kai, so Beerus fights against Tien very briefly. At the moment, Tien is vastly above everyone else, but it's still not enough to make Beerus break a sweat, although it makes everyone else look a lot less impressive by comparison. Still though, he doesn't sense anything godly within him. Sure, he's Guardian of Earth and he trained under the Supreme Kai, but it's not the godly rival he was looking for. It was something else, especially because he dreams specifically about a Super Saiyan god. Kami says it's probably best that they just ask Shenron, so that's exactly what they do, and they find out about the ritual to create a Super Saiyan god. Thankfully, they have pretty much the same crew here. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Videl are part of the ritual, with Goku being chosen as the one to become the Super Saiyan god. The ritual ends up working, and he fights Beerus. As a Super Saiyan god, he far surpasses Tien now. It's a very noticeable jump in power. Still, it isn't close to Beerus' full power, but hey, this'll do for a rival. This is what he was looking for. So, Beerus is pretty happy with the result, and he leaves Earth. He hopes to see them again though. He'll probably be back here especially for the food, and it gets Vegeta wondering, what could he do to impress Beerus? Or rather, Whis, because he finds out that Whis is his teacher. He's going to do anything in his power to impress Beerus once he comes back. Goku and Tien of course want to go there too, but Goku just thinks that Beerus is going to come back and bring him back regardless. And Tien's not really sure what's going to happen, so he goes back to the Sacred World of Kai. At some point, Whis does visit Earth, and Vegeta's able to impress him, particularly with food. He's able to bribe his way onto Beerus' planet, and he gets a little bit of a head start. Of course, Goku still did get the Super Saiyan God ritual first, but now Vegeta's actually getting some training from Whis beforehand. And they don't find out for a while. Goku finds out way later on like normal, and same for Tien. And the only reason he finds out is because he asked Elder Kai out of curiosity, wondering if he could ever go to Beerus' planet to train. And they reluctantly do contact Beerus and find out that Vegeta's there. And Tien's stuck here for now, which is fine. A little bit more time passes. The Frieza Force has been monitoring Earth. There isn't really much of the Frieza Force left, but still, there are some soldiers. The weirdest thing is that Ginyu still seems to be alive because they see Chaozu running around, not realizing that it's him and thinking it's Ginyu. So they've been desperately trying to contact him, but nothing's working. Although, they do know about the Dragon Balls now. After monitoring everyone for so long, they've seen the wish-granting properties of them. So they go after the Dragon Balls themselves, which eventually leads to them summoning Shenron and reviving Frieza. Frieza's got multiple people he wants to go after. The Triclops, the two Saiyans, whoever it is that stole Ginyu's body. Not that that's really personal, it's just really weird and off-putting to him. He deserves to die solely because of that. But he begins working, training himself to grow much stronger than before. And you know the drill. After a few months, he goes to Earth, deciding that he's actually strong enough to face everyone here. Unfortunately for him though, Earth has a pretty strong defense force. Goku and Vegeta are on Beerus' planet at the moment, and Tien's with the Kais. However, Kami, Gohan, and Chaozu are there, not to mention a stronger Yamcha and Krillin. This group fights off the entirety of Frieza's army, and it's actually pretty straightforward for them. Kami's been training and he does want to test out his power against Frieza, but it might not be enough here. Although for Gohan, that actually might be enough. He decides he'll be the one to take on Frieza, and if he truly is that strong, he's sure that things will turn out fine. He briefly fights against Frieza, who goes into his final form. And Frieza's definitely stronger than before, but of course, so is Gohan. Although Frieza is getting pretty annoyed because none of the people he actually wants to fight are here. I mean, besides Chaozu, of course. But he's not fighting Frieza directly, so he'll draw them out in whatever way he can. And despite Gohan's training, even though he could hold off Frieza for a little bit, he won't be able to beat Golden Frieza as is now. But thankfully someone teleports in to fight him instead. It's Tien. He was letting Gohan handle it alone because it looked like he had it, but he was ready to teleport in at any moment. And he'll take the fight on from here. He powers up into his ultimate form. Frieza really does want to kill those two monkeys though, but fine. If he has to fight this guy first, whatever. The two begin clashing. Tien's actually surprised at how much Frieza's grown. He didn't expect him to be this strong. And Frieza's thinking the same thing. How did everyone get so strong over these past few years? Although, even though it seems like they're keeping up with each other at first, Tien is still ahead of Frieza. Not to mention, he's just a better warrior in general and has a wider array of techniques. Frieza's humiliated, and of course, he tries to blow up the Earth, but he's not able to. Tien prevents it from happening, and he's on guard the entire time, so it's not like he's shot in the heart by a laser or something either. And as the fight goes on, Frieza loses more and more stamina too, so the gap just gets even wider. Tien is glad that he got this opportunity to test out his powers because it's the first real fight he's had after all this training. Sure, there was the one against Beerus, but that was like a year ago. Here it's an all-out battle with nothing held back, and it's a true deathmatch. Tien ends up killing Frieza, saving Earth. And even though Goku and Vegeta didn't arrive on the battlefield, at some point this was sensed on Beerus' planet. With how strong Golden Frieza is and how strong Ultimate Tien is, they could feel that power all the way out there. And they actually watched the fight go on in Whis' staff. Beerus is actually pretty impressed. They don't know how strong Frieza truly grew, but based on what they sensed, it seemed like he was actually relative to where Goku and Vegeta were at the moment, which takes them by surprise because they didn't expect Frieza to be that strong. Beerus and Whis go back to Earth. They do need some more food after all, but it's not just because of that. Beerus is actually interested in taking Tien as another student under Whis. Given the great power he's displaying, and the fact that he could serve as a good motivator for Goku and Vegeta, it could be good to have him there on the planet with them. Plus, that wasn't even his full power. He could theoretically stack Kaioken on top of Ultimate as well, but he hasn't really tried that yet. So, his power goes even beyond this. So Tien is brought to Beerus' planet. He begins training with Goku and Vegeta and picks up Godly Ki for himself. He's stronger than both of them individually, but if they were to team up against him, they would beat him pretty quickly. They know this for a fact because they actually fight 2v1. So it looks like at the moment, Tien's the strongest mortal in the universe, just like it was before. Naturally, Champa would show up on Beerus' planet eventually, trying to get the Super Dragon Balls for himself. And the Tournament of Destroyers is set into motion. The team here is pretty straightforward. Of course, Goku, Vegeta, and Tien are on it, and Tien decides that maybe they should recruit Kami because of his new strength. They did want to get Gohan on the team, but he's busy at the moment, so they get Chaozu instead. Overall, they do have a pretty nice lineup regardless, with Universe 6's lineup of course being the same. Champa doesn't really know what to expect from them. The first fight is Goku vs. Potamo, with Goku finding a way to win just like he did beforehand. Next up, Goku vs. Frost. I feel like this fight would also go pretty much the same. Right now, Goku and Vegeta are pretty much at the same level where they were at in canon. They also did train at the time chamber for a bit before the tournament. Actually, all 5 of them went in there. Chaozu's work more on his time abilities, while Kami's just trying to become a stronger warrior in general. As for Goku, Vegeta, and Tien, it's pretty much just their standard training. But still, Frost Poison gets Goku. So the next fight is Kami vs. Frost. Jaco's in the stands and actually does catch Frost Poison. But it doesn't really matter because the time he catches it, Kami already was able to defeat Frost, which is pretty impressive because he's grown a lot. That training in the time chamber, plus all those years of training after getting his youth back, it's definitely paying off. The next fight is Kami vs. Vegeta, and he doesn't actually figure out Vegeta's weakness just yet. So, despite his strength, he's eliminated and Vegeta's the one up next. He does actually end up finding out Vegeta's weakness, mainly thanks to Whis in the stands, so that fight pretty much goes like normal, and same for the fight afterwards, because he fights Kappa next. Things are going pretty well for Universe 7 so far. They've only lost 2 fighters, and now Universe 6 only has 1 left. Unfortunately for them, it's their strongest fighter, which is Hit. Vegeta briefly puts up a good fight against him, but it's not going to be enough. And they learn of his weird time abilities too, which is kind of perfect because the person who's up next is Chaozu. So Chaozu doesn't really have the power to contend against Hit, but he's interested to see the types of powers that he has. Physically, Chaozu is decently strong, but of course he's not the strongest in the group. However, where he really shines is his abilities. His telekinesis has been amped a ton by now. After copying what Goldo did, he's been branching out even further, so his telekinesis works on time as well, and he has some pretty similar techniques to Hit. This could be a good chance for him to study. He thinks he's definitely going to lose this fight, but he wants to stay in this fight as long as possible just to see what Hit's made of, and steal some of his moves too. Hit's actually pretty taken aback because Chaozu is able to work around all his time abilities. Of course, Hit is still way ahead of him in terms of strength, but his time abilities are pretty much useless against Chaozu. He's the perfect counter. And not to mention, Chaozu's telekinesis isn't just based on time abilities either. It's really good telekinesis as well. He even tries to paralyze Hit, which kinda works for a little bit, but Hit's able to break out of it. He's able to also throw out barriers around him to actually block Hit's attacks, trying to redirect them. And while he puts up a surprisingly good fight, he still ends up losing with Hit knocking him out of the ring. Pretty thrown off by the whole experience because he didn't expect anyone to actually counter that. And the final fight is Tien versus Hit. Chaozu gives him the whole rundown about Hit's ability, breaking down exactly how they work. It's actually pretty perfect because he did train with Chaozu a lot in the time chamber. Goku and Vegeta didn't really train with him too much, but Tien's going to benefit from this because he actually already fought someone who can control time. Not to mention, after watching the battle with Chaozu, now he actually sees what Hit's capable of. So he seems pretty prepared for this fight. He steps up and immediately jumps into Ultimate. Each fighter is the last fighter of their respective universe too, so this is a pretty important match. Goku probably would get reinstated, but technically this would be the last fight. Tien tries to work around Hit's moves, trying to predict what he's doing next, while also countering with attacks of his own. He basically pulls what Goku did, and he does have a few advantages here. He also does have his amazing vision and can pick up the slightest movements from Hit. There's also his training with Chaozu, and all the info he got from the previous fight with Chaozu and Hit. But just as important is the fact that he actually does overpower Hit. Ultimate Tien at the moment is stronger than him, so even with his weird abilities, Tien's able to get the victory here, and Universe 7 wins the entire thing, getting the Super Dragon Balls, with Beerus making the same wish as normal. It was pretty fun to see these strong fighters from another universe, and Zeno thought so too. He really wants to see them try this again. That was very fun to watch. So following the Universe 6 tournament, there's not going to be anything with Zamasu. He probably would hear of Tien. I mean, I'm sure the fight would go up on GodTube, but there hasn't been any time travel in this scenario, which means no Zero Mortals plan. Zamasu would probably be pretty pissed off about Tien, but I think it'll just be left at that. It's not enough to send him over the edge. So there's basically just a year of nothing. And then once the Super Dragon Balls are back, Zeno decides to gather them and set the Tournament of Power in motion. It'll be pretty much the same exact format, the only difference is there's no exhibition match here because that's not needed. Naturally, everyone in every universe freaks out, but Universe 7 is pretty content with where they are. Beerus feels like his team might have this in the bag. He's not really sure what other types of fighters are out there, but the 3 people on his planet have grown really strong, and he has a few reasons to believe his fighters are actually the strongest. So, what's the team going to be? Well, obviously Tien's going to be on there, so are Goku and Vegeta. Then there would probably be Kami, Gohan, Krillin, Chaozu, Yamcha, and Roshi. with Krillin and Yamcha of course being stronger in this scenario, and Chaozu being in Ginyu's body, also way stronger than normal. By the way, in case I haven't made it clear, Chaozu is the second strongest human right now behind Tien. He's not on the level of Goku, Vegeta, or Gohan, but the second strongest human is still a good title for him. But that's only going to be 9 fighters. Who else could they recruit for their team? There's no androids here because they're dead, and they have all the human fighters on their team, well, unless they get Yajirobe. But Goku suggests maybe reviving one of their old villains. They have a couple people in mind, but that is way too risky. Also, Tien has a better idea. Actually, 2 ideas. He says in the worst case scenario, they could actually revive someone from Otherworld. You know, he and Goku did spend some time up there, and maybe they could find somebody strong. But they may not even need to do that. Kami actually gave him a really good idea. Tien says he'll be back momentarily, and he uses the Kai Kai to teleport to Namek. Mori's the current elder, and he explains the situation to him. And unlike Goku, he doesn't lie about anything, he actually just tells him up front that, yeah, the entire universe is at stake. The Namekians were up to help regardless, but now, they really want to help. Although they're concerned because their strongest warrior might not be enough. Especially because they get a glimpse of Tien's power, and even though they're willing to help, they're not really too sure what they can do. And that's fine. Tien understands and gets ready to head back to Earth, but then someone else butts in. It's Nail, the strongest warrior here. Of course, he's way stronger than he was in the Namek arc in the main story, because he's going to have like a decade extra of training on top of what he had there. But it's not just that. He just wants to know one thing. Earth has its own set of Dragon Balls right now, right? And yeah, they do. That's fine. Then they're going to take no risk in doing this. He has a proposal. All of the Namekians fuse into him, creating an incredibly powerful warrior for the tournament. Tien thinks that's insane. They don't really need to go that far for this, but Nail says to think about it. If they get erased, it doesn't really matter anyways. But if they do end up winning, they could just use the Dragon Balls on Earth to unfuse. So there's not much risk they're taking here. And yeah, that actually does make sense, so why not do it? And that's exactly what Nail does. Tien watches as all the Namekians gather together, ready to temporarily lend themselves to Nail, just so he can get enough power to help out the team. And this results in a really strong fusion. He even thinks about merging into Kami, but they would still be short one fighter in that case, and it might be better to do it like this. But this is great. Nail now has all the power and knowledge of all the Namekians around him. I'd imagine he'd be the 4th strongest on the team, behind Goku, Vegeta, and Tien. So, he's going to be a really valuable 10th member. Tien comes back to Earth, lets everyone know what just happened, and they're amazed to see a Namekian warrior that strong. Especially Kami. Wow, he just told Tien to go to Namek to see if there's any strong warriors there, but he didn't even think of everyone merging together. But it makes sense because that kind of helped with him after all. And Nail looks forward to fighting alongside them, especially Kami. They're both fused Namekians with great power, and maybe they can learn something from each other. And this also makes Goku wonder, should they fuse at all during the tournament? Vegeta says he's not going to do that. He wants to fight alone. But if things get really bad, Goku says that's at least a last resort. And Tien has that too. He could do his own fusion. Not to mention, Gohan knows the dance as well, and so does pretty much everyone on the team by now. It's too valuable of a thing for everyone to not learn. The only person who doesn't is Roshi because he has been training on his own, but he hasn't been training with everyone else. And Nail probably doesn't know it either, but that doesn't matter. If anyone needs to fuse, they can. But they might not even need to do that. The tournament begins and it becomes really clear that Universe 7 is really strong. And look, I love the human characters. I mean, I'm making a whole what if about Tien here, but let's be honest, in the Tournament of Power and the main story, they were dead weight. Tien, Krillin, and Roshi didn't really do too much. Sure, they might have had a few cool scenes or whatever, but in terms of power, there's no way they were going to last the entire tournament, and they were kind of just filling slots there. Again, I love them, and I'm one of the few people that tries to not lowball them. Like, I made a whole video scaling them after all. But there's a reason I kind of skim over them in every what if in terms of the Tournament of Power. Here, though, that's different. The entire team is stacked. Roshi's really the only weak fighter here, and he's probably going to be relative to where he was normally. Like, he did his own secret training as normal. But as for everyone else, well, Krillin and Yamcha are stronger than normal, and Krillin was already pretty strong to begin with. Same for Yamcha, again, I made that whole video scaling them. A lot of people kind of underestimate him. As for Chaozu, it kind of goes without saying because he barely even fought in Dragon Ball Super. But here, not only is he a valuable warrior, he's the strongest Earthling besides Tien. And then look at the rest of the team. Kami is basically the Piccolo of this scenario. Like, I'd imagine he's weaker than where Piccolo was at this time, but I mean, they're the same person. Gohan, I'd imagine, would have Ultimate by now because of Tien telling him. So, we'll put him to where he was normally. Goku and Vegeta are stronger than normal. And then, obviously, there's Tien, who's, well, the strongest. I mean, that's the name of the story. It kind of goes without saying. So, I would usually gloss over the rest of the team because, let's be honest, some of them are too weak. But here, I'm only going to gloss over things because the team is too strong. Like, most of the team wouldn't have any problem with their fights. Sure, the other universes do have some really strong fighters. But think of what everyone's working with here. If there's a problem, they're not going to fight alone. And if there's still a problem then, people could fuse together. Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan lasted pretty long in the tournament normally. And with Kami being in Piccolo's place and Nail being even stronger than him, they're going to do fine. Especially considering Nail's the 4th strongest on the team. He's going to be able to hold his own really well. So I'm not going to cover the individual fights. Let's just go over to Jiren. I think naturally Goku would want to fight him, and so does Tien. Tien's more cautious, especially with him being one of the two Guardians of Earth because, let's be honest now, both he and Kami are kind of pulling the same weight there, but still he likes to test himself as a warrior, that's just part of who he is. So, since they don't want to fight together, Goku's going to settle this in the easiest way possible. They do rock, paper, scissors in front of Jiren. Tien ends up winning, but he kinda cheats because, thanks to his greater eyesight, he's able to predict moves more easily. Plus, Goku suspects he's cheating for another reason. Anyways, Tien fights first. He goes into his ultimate form. Now, his ultimate form looks kind of different. Before, there wasn't really any change, but he always activates 4 witches now when he uses ultimate. It's not like that increases his power or anything, but since the form is just naturally drawing out all his potential, that includes the fact that he can grow 2 extra arms. Plus, I know you're all expecting this. This is my way of including that meme of Tien where he has that, badass edit of him. We're 8 parts in, I was kind of being subtle about that, but dude, it's an April Fool's what if. Of course I was gonna go for this. He's a little bit below Jiren, which is fine, because he's not using his full power. He taps into Kaioken, specifically Evolved Kaioken, stacking it on top of Ultimate. He simply calls this Ultimate Kaioken. 4 arms, Ultimate, and a Kaioken multiplier. He doesn't even know what the Kaioken multiplier he's using right now is. It's just whatever the max is that he can handle. And the great thing about it is, he's not always constantly using it at his top level. His body automatically adjusts Kaioken so it doesn't overuse it. So if he's standing still, it's 0, but if he attacks, then it just jumps up to the maximum instantly. And by using this, he's comfortably above Jiren. Plus, he's really fast right now. And Jiren notices that he's dodging attacks preemptively at one point, which might just be a coincidence due to his speed. There's also the fact that his great vision means that he can analyze things better, which is really helpful in predicting moves, just by looking at small changes in an opponent's stance. Anyways, by using this, he's able to push Jiren into his full power, and with his full power, he's now above Ultimate Kaioken Tien, not by a significant margin. So Tien fights like this for a little bit, and he's glad to see his limits here, thanking Jiren for that. Jiren wonders why he's not taking it seriously yet, but that's because he's still holding back. And while testing his power out against Jiren, he actually split himself into 4. Jiren didn't even notice that there's 3 other versions of Tien there. 2 of them have already fused into each other, creating Merged Tien, although it's just one half of it. That Merged Tien attacks Jiren, while the other 2 Tiens go and fuse. Then, the one attacking Jiren performs a solar flare. And Jiren still tries to attack during this, but just to help out his friend, Chaozu then jumps in, using all of his power and focus to briefly freeze time for Jiren, giving Tien the opening he needs to fully fuse together, recreating the true Merged Tien. And while fused, he's stronger than Ultimate Kaioken Tien. So technically he's still holding back here because base Merged Tien is stronger than him, and also stronger than Jiren. Typically he likes to fight alone, but he likes to think this still counts as fighting alone. It's just his power after all. Merged Tien briefly fights Jiren, and then he's able to knock him out of the ring. This fusion of course is really powerful, but one downside is that it lasts only a few minutes, unlike regular fusions that last longer. That is because he's splitting himself into 4 and he's fusing with himself. It's kind of unstable. He's worked on it a little bit to make it more efficient, but it still has that issue. But it's very good as a last resort though, which is why Goku's pretty surprised to see him use this because there's no need for a last resort. Tien didn't show off his full strength against Jiren. Really, he just wanted an excuse to break this out again. It's kind of fun merging with himself. There still are a lot of strong fighters in the tournament, and Tien's not going to interrupt any of those fights, but he decides to do something else. Right after unfusing, he then uses the multi-form again. He doesn't just create 4 clones, he splits his power up a bunch. Nail and Kami see this and realize what he's doing. Even though he's dividing his power a lot, it's strength in numbers. Maybe they could try something out like that too, using it themselves as well. Universe 7 now has dozens of extra fighters. They're just clones of Tien, Kami, and Nail. And they're not particularly strong because of how much they divided themselves, but it's good to clean up a lot of the weaker fighters, and then they merge back together into their normal selves, leaving only a handful of other strong fighters from other universes in the ring. And right now, things are looking pretty good for them. Universe 7 has only lost Roshi so far, and with their strongest fighters still kicking, they can fight a lot of the people from the other universes too. Soon enough, everyone's knocked out of the ring, and Universe 7 is the only one remaining. And Goku walks up to Tien at the end of the tournament. Why was he holding back? And Tien says he can ask Goku the same question. Kami overhears this and he's a bit confused. What does he mean Tien was holding back? He fused with himself. Well, yeah, technically that's a really strong thing for him, but Goku says he was holding back while unfused. And Vegeta says he doesn't understand why the 2 of them are hiding it, because he also hit it too. The 3 of them thought it would be kind of unfair to use this, in the sense that it would make the fights kind of boring for them. In their training, the 3 of them have unlocked Ultra Instinct. They only have Omen by now, but still, it would have been really easy to defeat everyone here. Part of it was because they wanted to enjoy themselves, and part of it was because if they actually used that power, all the other universes would panic and break out their trump cards. And who knows what things they would have had in store. As the leader of the team and one of the people with the most eliminations, Tien gets the wish here, wishing to restore all the other universes. They all go back to Earth, and just like they planned before, the Dragon Balls on Earth are used to unfuse Nail. It was pretty fun fighting as one merged Namekian, although it makes him kind of wonder how strong he would have been if he merged with Kami. That would have been really powerful. Imagine that, 2 Namekians with their potential unlocked merging together. And Kami's not sure what he's talking about. He just merged with his old self and then kept training. Wait, so he hasn't had his potential unlocked? Because Nail has. That's something the previous Elder Guru could do and now Mori can do. Does Kami know how to do that himself? No, actually he doesn't. Nail suggests he should do that, and Tien says he could just go to Elder Kai for that. I mean, that's what he and Gohan did. That's how they got their ultimate forms. But they still do have Shenron in front of them, and he has a suggestion. Because he is Kami's dragon after all, he would like to help out Kami. This is kind of a cheat code and a loophole for the dragon, but he can make his own creator even stronger. Kami could just wish for Shenron to unlock his potential. And he's kind of on the spot here, but he decides to do so. And Shenron does exactly that. He draws out all of Kami's power, plus a little bit extra. And Kami thanks him. He got a ton stronger from this. But he tells Shenron they don't need the third wish, so Shenron just disappears. Nail then returns home. Following this, we have what would be the Moro arc. And the reason I say that is because it's going to be stopped pretty early on. Mayris would come to Earth and recruit Goku and Vegeta, and probably Tien as well, because even without Majin Buu here, there's some pretty strong fighters on Earth that could help him out. And not to mention, since he's attacking Namek, they need to do everything in their power to defend it. The Namekians are their allies and friends. Of course they're going to go there. And considering they all have Ultra Instinct Omen, well, the fight with Moro is pretty short. He would try to take their power, but at some point, they try and use Ultra Instinct to get around it, which works just like it did when Goku fought him in the main story. So they're able to defeat Moro pretty quickly. Vegeta's actually the one to kill him. Although he is a bit annoyed because Moro wasn't really a strong opponent, he was just using everyone else's power against them. But on top of that, even though Ultra Instinct makes him powerful, he feels he could be doing more, especially because he's just on par with Kakarot right now and still behind Tien. He'll figure out a way to surpass them no matter what. Naturally, after seeing all the other universes in the Tournament of Power, Tien does want to test his power out against others. Not that his current training isn't going well, because it is, but he kinda needs to broaden his horizons. Thankfully, he did just meet someone new after all, Mayris, who's taken an interest in Tien, especially after seeing all of them use Ultra Instinct. Tien learns that he's actually an angel, and he does some training under him, while Goku and Vegeta go back to Beerus's planet. Goku, of course, is still going to work on Ultra Instinct, but he's going to do it with Whis. As for Vegeta, he's going to try to do something a little bit different here. Maybe he can't get ahead of Tien by doing the same thing as him, but if he does something different, who knows? Following the Moro arc, there isn't going to be any stuff with Granola. So, naturally that leaves one arc left. Superhero. Dr. Hedo is freed from prison, and Gamma 1 and 2 are made. They have the same objective as normal, but this time there's more targets. There are a lot of weird people on Earth that need to be stopped, particularly Goku and all his alien friends, especially Tien. Clearly they're all aliens, like one of them has 3 eyes, one of them has no nose, and one of them is Chaozu, who actually is in the body of an alien. So everyone here's a target. Gamma 1 and 2 are sent out, and the first people they come across are actually Krillin and Chaozu. Gamma 1 fights Krillin. Meanwhile, not too far away, Chaozu's fighting Gamma 2. And the Gammas are made to be pretty strong, but Yamcha's nearby to Krillin, so he joins him in that battle. And as for Chaozu, Kami ends up joining him. Each fight becomes a 2v1, and despite the strength of the Gammas, they can't actually keep up here. Especially in the fight against Chaozu, because that one's kind of lopsided. First of all, Chaozu has all his time abilities, which are really helpful. Not to mention, Kami's there. Having his potential unlocked, he's grown a lot stronger. Shenron didn't just give him a potential unlocked form, he gave him an extra form beyond that. So, once Kami turns orange, he's able to one-shot his opponent. They then realize that there's another Gamma out there, so they take their opponent, and Kami teleports all of them over to where Yamcha and Krillin are. Now, both the Gammas are defeated. They're a little surprised to see the Red Ribbon Army back, but these guys seem different. The other androids were just made to be killing machines, like look at Cell for example. These two, they at least think they're good guys, and Kami just assumes that they're being purposefully misguided. Gohan then joins him too. He's been busy on his own, but he's ready to fight alongside them just in case. He sensed all the battles going on, and especially after they powered up to their full strength, he realized that he probably would need to help. But even with the Gammas defeated, that's of course not going to be their main opponent here. They're kind of just the appetizer, because back at the Red Ribbon base, Magenta panics and decides to activate Cell Max early. And since he's activated even earlier on than normal, he's probably not even fully complete. Before, it was just his brainwashing wasn't complete, but here, Hedo might still have other work to do. But regardless, he unleashes a rampaging monster that has no control over his own power. Everyone senses this from far away, and Hedo calls the Gammas back to the base, telling them what's going on. So both the Z-Fighters and the Gammas are equally concerned. Looks like they really only have one option now: fight against Cell Max together. They all fly over towards the base, and Cell Max has already been freed. He's destroyed the entire base around him, and he's about to escape outside of it, but they get there just in time to hold him off. And he does kind of look like Cell, but clearly he's a lot different. First of all, the fact that he's giant and his colors are different, but on top of that, he's not some perfect genetic lifeform like Cell, nor is he intelligent like Cell. Far away, on the sacred world of Kai, Tien is there. He had been training with Mayris before, but decided to come back here because he does still want some variety in his training. He's gone between here, Beerus's planet, and the time chamber that Mayris has. But all the way over here, he could sense really strong powers on Earth, particularly his friends, but also some new sort of enemy. It's definitely going to be worth it to check out, so quickly, he Kai-Kais over to the planet. Surprised to see that Goku and Vegeta haven't come over here either, but maybe they're busy with something on Beerus's planet. Everyone's glad to see that he's here because maybe they would have been able to defeat Cell Max, but it's definitely going to be really tough. The Gammas did tell them about his weak spot, but hitting that is easier said than done. With Tien here, they're sure to win, although they're wondering how he could do it. But Tien might not even need to know that weakness. This should be fine. Plus, it's another opportunity to test out his power in a relatively safe fight. They think it's kind of crazy that he's calling this a safe fight, but if Tien's confident that Cell Max is weaker than him, it's probably the case here. He tells everyone to stand back. His ki explodes. There's a massive intense aura that forms around him. This is him using Ultra Instinct right now. As he goes into Ultra Instinct, the aura starts morphing into something else. He's also using Ultimate to draw out all its potential at once, which includes growing the extra arms on his back. But the massive ki around him takes on a new shape. Slowly it morphs into a human-like figure. It's as big as Cell Max himself, and it looks like a giant construct of Tien. The only difference is, it has a bunch of extra arms. And Tien floats up into the head of the ki construct, sitting right behind where its third eye is. Anytime he moves, the ki construct makes the same sort of movements. Cell Max attacks, but the attack is easily blocked. The rest of them watch on amazed because this is a new form from him. They haven't seen this before. Krillin thinks it's especially awesome. He feels like he saw this before, like he's witnessed some sort of fight where some old dude was using a giant golden construct to fight a guy that looked like Cell, but he can't really remember what he's thinking of here. Maybe it's just a case of deja vu. This is what Tien calls his 1,000 Witches form. It's only natural he calls it this. He has 4 witches, which is him with 4 arms, and now this is him with a bunch of arms. Not actually 1,000, but he thinks it's kind of cool, and it reminds him of the same thing that Krillin's thinking of. He just can't quite put his finger on it. Anyways, Cell Max is way too weak to fight him right now. Tien kind of just takes this for a test run because this is a perfect opponent. He could actually change the size of the ki construct to whatever he wants, so if he wants to remain his normal size, he could just grow a bunch of extra arms made out of ki and direct them with Ultra Instinct. But he could also change his size too, so this is one of the rare chances he gets to fight a giant opponent, which makes it a lot more fun. Plus, his ki doesn't always have to remain attached to him. The ki construct can shoot its own ki blast, or even launch parts of itself off. Not to mention, he can also clone himself, which does include the ki construct. And technically right now he's still holding back because he's not using Merge Tien, or Evolve Kaioken for that matter. Those handicaps at least give him some sort of a challenge here. But it's not really too extreme. Quickly, he's able to dispatch Cell Max and defeat him with very little struggle. He actually hasn't been back on Earth for a while, and he feels kind of bad about it because Kami did make him Guardian after all, but he just keeps leaving the planet. Kami said it's fine, but still, he kind of feels bad. And he's about to catch up with everyone, but then he hears someone talking in his head. It's Goku. Telepathically all the way from Beerus' planet, they're talking to Tien. They sense the battle going on, and they want to see what Tien's new power's like because they haven't seen him in a while. He tells everyone he'll be back here soon, but for now he's just going to go to Beerus' planet and appease them. It should be relatively quick. So once more, he Kai-Kai's away, this time going to Beerus' planet. Everyone there is just left a little speechless, especially the Gammas, because they just watched him pop in, defeat that monster with ease, and then abruptly leave like it was nothing. Goku and Vegeta only sensed the fight, so they didn't actually get to see what Tien was using there. So they ask him to demonstrate it a bit. That's fine. He goes into his 1,000 Witches form once more, showing them what he's learned. This is the culmination of all his training combined. Plus, Tien does have the complete version of Ultra Instinct right now, which isn't really too crazy for them to see because Goku's completed Ultra Instinct, and while Vegeta hasn't completed Ultra Instinct, he has been working on something else, and he's gotten really far along with it since he started on it earlier on. He has Ultra Ego now, thankfully getting a jump start on that. And he's a little confident here because right now he's actually ahead of Goku. Goku's not too far behind, but he tells Vegeta he'll catch up pretty soon. The real question is, how close will they come to Tien? Tien says there's only one way to find out. Fighting Cell Max was pretty fun, but he wonders what it'll be like fighting these two. Goku and Vegeta go into their Ultra forms, while Tien just goes into normal Ultra Instinct, not using 1,000 Witches just yet. Beerus is a bit annoyed to see how fight crazy they are, but he actually does want to see the demonstration of this power. Tien is supposed to be his rival after all, and he wonders how close Tien is to his level. This is the only way they're going to find out, besides him actually fighting Tien, which he'll probably do at some point. Tien takes on both Goku and Vegeta at once, and just with Ultra Instinct alone, he's able to keep up. But once he uses Ultimate on top of it and draws out his full potential, using all of his power at once, he's actually able to defeat the two of them together. But they're not done yet. They want to push Tien and give him a challenge. They want him to fight with that new form. Maybe they'll have to fuse to do that. Goku gets ready for the fusion dance, while Vegeta reluctantly gets ready. But Tien says to wait a moment. If they're going to fuse, he wants to try something else. He teleports away, going to the Sacred World of Kai's quickly. About a minute later, he comes back. This time he's holding 2 earrings. Elder Kai lent him these. He's learned that these are called Batara earrings, and apparently, 2 people can fuse together with them. Now, Elder Kai used to think that if 2 mortals used this, they would be fused forever. But during the Tournament of Power, they did actually get to see this with Kefla, even though she wasn't really too impressive of an opponent compared to them. But it tells them that Batara fusion isn't actually permanent, because it made Elder Kai look more into it and figure out mortals can use this like the fusion dance. Plus, he wonders if this method of fusion is any stronger. The 2 of them put on their earrings and fuse together. This creates a brand new warrior. He looks a little different from Gogeta, but he has similar features. So, since he looks different, he's going to give himself a different name. This is Vegito. He wonders how long this fusion is going to last because he knows Gogeta has a time limit. They don't know it could be drained even further if they use too much power. Not that it matters though. These warriors are so quick that they only really need a few minutes to battle. Vegito gets some practice by cycling through his forms, first going Super Saiyan, then Super Saiyan God, then Blue, and finally, Ultra Instinct. He could also use Ultra Ego here, but he's going to try this out first. He wonders if he could use both together, but if that even is possible, that's definitely not something he could do on a whim. Maybe he could swap between them though. Vegito fights Tien, and with Ultra Instinct, Tien can't keep up right now even with his great power. Although, that's just with Ultimate and Ultra Instinct. He could close the gap by fusing himself and using Merge Tien, but instead, he tries to quickly activate Kaioken, using Evolved Kaioken at the same time as the two other forms. They ask him to use that Thousand Witches thing again, and he says it's not really a power-up. It doesn't necessarily make him stronger, it's just a state where he focuses a lot and controls his ki to the point where he can make ki constructs of himself. But he does that anyways, using that technique alongside Evolved Kaioken, Ultimate and Ultra Instinct, stacking a bunch of things together. They can't believe how versatile his moveset is. And with the two of them merged together, they think that maybe they should be ahead of him. And Vegito still is ahead of him in this fight even when he uses Evolved Kaioken. But the thing that worries Vegito is that it's not by a significant margin. Tien can keep up and can actually injure Vegito. He's not stronger right now, but the fact that he's doing this alone is pretty insane. So why not go all out? He decides to use Merge Tien, just for fun. Now he's holding absolutely nothing back. And this becomes overkill. There's no doubt Vegito's a strong warrior, but with Merge Tien using all of his power, he's able to end the battle pretty quickly, with Vegito defusing shortly after. Both Beerus and Whis watch on really impressed because first of all, they got to see a display of Vegito's power, which is new. But more importantly, it makes Beerus really glad about the rivals he chose. Tien's supposed to be his main rival, but the two Saiyans, they're also really strong. He's surprised to see mortals that powerful, and if Tien didn't exist here, he'd be perfectly happy with them as rivals. Not to mention he's really happy about Vegeta, who's using the power of destruction. The three of them all have Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta's a really good student directly under Beerus. Whis, of course, is really happy. These three are all his students. Either way though, they've all made it pretty far. For Goku, it's kinda interesting to look back at how far they made it. When he first met Tien, he wasn't sure if he could ever reach that level, and he did reach that level, but Tien kept growing beyond that too. So, Goku had to keep pushing himself. Just as Beerus found a rival in Tien, Goku did too. Goku's been motivated his whole life as a fighter, and it's not just Tien that pushed him, but he was a really big motivator, and he still is to this day. And sure, part of his power is due to genetics. Him being a hybrid Earthling does this. But just as important is how he uses it, and how dedicated he is to his craft. It's the best of both worlds. Great genetics as a fighter, combined with great skill and hard work. He truly is the ultimate warrior and the strongest mortal by far. The craziest part to Beerus is that he knows Tien's not even close to being done with growing. Although, it'll be interesting to see what happens as he ages because, from what Beerus knows, Earthlings don't really live that long. And he's already considered middle-aged, especially with that time chamber training. And Tien's not too worried. He feels he'll be in his prime for a while, and if that does become an issue, he'll deal with that once it happens. They can keep growing stronger together. And with that, this is where we end our story. What did you guys think about this scenario as a whole? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.